run has been improbable. I said it's still special even if they don't make the postseason. I got pushback from you. I'm getting major pushback from our boss, who said, which the reasoning, I don't know. I don't want to take anybody out of context and end up in a meeting. I think I remember the collapse, not even a collapse, but like when they got close and Grady Sizemore lost the ball in the sun. I remember bringing that up yesterday. Owen even remembers that. Owen was just getting ready to move here. That was a long time ago, but Owen knows the history. And that's a guy who's not even technically from here who knows that. The runs that they have, if they make the postseason, yes, great. If they win the division, obviously, yes, great. And because it's so remarkable, yeah, there should be, I hope there's some sort of special designation with this run to win the division compared to other runs because of what they were able to do in the latter half of the season. But I think it is a testament to how they are. And if I'm the one who remembers it and I'm the one who keeps making a big deal about it in the future, then I'll be the one who keeps making a big damn deal about it in the future. I'd like to think that a lot of people listen to this show, so hopefully it'll be a bigger deal than what some people want to think it is.
So what number is the most impressive to you about all of this? Is it the one that's historic, which is the 15.5 games back on July 8th? Or is it that they were 10.5 games on September 1st, or
probably that
9.5 games on September 10th?
The 10,
that is insanity.
The 15 is the big number. The 15 is the big number. When was the 15.5? You said
on July 8th.
I mean, that's a huge number,
and that was after being swept by the Tigers the series before that.
Because I admitted to him,
so they went to a new series and they didn't gain any ground on them.
I had to tell Owen, like I stopped paying attention to the division. It was only the wild card.
Yeah.
Our arguments, you were the only
person in town that paid attention to the division.
I didn't even pay attention to the division because I'm like, well, the division's done. It was, can we get into the wild card? And so I just paid attention to the wild card for a while. So when it got to 9, I didn't even notice when it got to 9. When it got to 5.5, when it got to 6, that's when Owen was like, hey, are you paying attention to this? I go, no, I'm only paying attention to the wild card. I see that we're 2.5 games back of the wild card. Well, it's like, well, you got to pay attention to the division, and they're playing the Tigers. And I'm figuring, well, my whole thought the whole time, Rays, Jays, Red
Rangers
Sox,
were part of that.
Rangers, Astros, like those were the teams that I was thinking about. I was not thinking about the Detroit Tigers.
Do you hear how many teams that is, though? That's a ton of teams that they had to
Yes.
dump. The Royals were part of that.
Yeah,
the Royals were ahead of them forever.
The Royals were ahead of them. That's right.
They took the Royals out 3 weeks ago. They had a 4-game set with them, and they just took them out of the playoff chase. They killed their season then. They've done a lot of season killing since the mid-July mark.
216-474-0092. Kyle in Olmsted Township, you're first up on the Fan.
Hey, guys. Just want to go back to your point earlier. You had mentioned that if this season would be memorable or not. I think if it's just a domino effect based off of, we had to deal with Class A and Ortiz getting popped, which are two. Well, one, Class A, we know what he can do, and Ortiz was a big acquisition. That's why we moved on with Jimenez and all those guys. And then back to your point, 15.5, 10.5 between the wild card and the Central. I think this might be, I don't know if as impressive as last year. I think different circumstances, but I think it's right there with it.
Well, making the postseason is always going to be, and winning the division while making the postseason and doing it in such a fashion is going to be very impressive. So as of right now, the more impressive thing, I think, for a lot of folks is going to be that. Now, I make the argument, Kyle, and Kyle, thank you for the call. I make the argument of knowing everything that we know about with Luis Ortiz, with the trades that they had to make, the dead weight that they cut. Because Santana's a nice enough player, and he's been here 3 times. It was dead weight. But there's
he's been even worse. He's been even worse since he got traded.
There's a message you send that this year ain't going to be our year, and hopefully we'll get back on track next year. There was a point where I'm sitting there worried about the rotation and going, hey, maybe I've just become accustomed to them building pitchers, and maybe I'm taking it for granted that they built pitchers over the last 20 years. Like right now, or at the time we were saying it, but man, these guys are struggling. You had Tanner Bybee and Gavin Williams. These guys are struggling.
How many times did we discuss over the last 2 months, do they have an ace? Who's the ace?
Yeah.
Where's the ace at? And I still don't know that they have a true, that's the guy. But, they've all they've all taken their
right.
turn being the guy for this
Guys,
3 weeks.
It's
right.
been, with no margin for error, 18 straight starts, 2 or less runs. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that. I'm sure it's not historic because they've been playing baseball for so long, and we're different eras. But with everything on the line, with them needing basically every series, we know they need basically every series. They need almost every game. And to pitch like that, knowing, and then they go to the 6-man rotation, and it doesn't disrupt the rhythm. I know they had the doubleheader that they had to worry about, but all of this is focusing on putting them in position now. And now they just got to finish the deal. And they're in great position now. They just got to finish the deal now.
Mike in Akron, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Mike.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Glad to have you.
So I would say that last year, we're in ALCS. So anything below that, I think, would not be a successful season. I understand the 15 and a half games behind. I think it's an awesome run. But once again, we're giving credence to a low-budget, fiscal responsibility team that keeps sucking us in every year. And then in the off season, the cream rises are crop in the playoffs. And what do we have? We'll have a Judge moment. We'll have a Stanton moment. Soto last year. And once again, this team is not set up to win a championship ever.
Well,
and
but
then
when are they?
But
Mike, when are they ever going to be in the same category until there's a cap and a floor? When are they ever going to be in the same category as a Judge
we're
moment?
never competing for a championship.
Then what's the point of ever talking about the sports then? Should I just talk Browns then for the rest of my life? Only Browns?
At least the Browns attempt to win championships. They go out there in free agency and spend money and make moves.
They get nowhere near it.
That's how you win in football, spending in free agency.
Man, Mike, thank you for the call.
Spending on guys past their prime in free agency, that's a winning model.
I know I've made that argument before about them. Hey, if I say anything about them, they do go for the gusto. They go for the gusto and completely fail. But if we are just waiting for the other shoe to drop, then we might as well all pack it in and just go stare at a wall for the rest of our lives.
That didn't seem to matter to the people, the almost 30,000 that were there last night, who treated it like a playoff game. Imagine if they watched it like him, the place would have sucked.
So
they probably wouldn't have won the game. If they had a stadium full of guys like that last caller, thinking in the sixth inning, what about the payroll? Then they probably would have lost, and they probably would have packed it in months ago. Thank God they don't have to listen to guys like that every day. Thank God they have real fans who aren't going World Series or bust every year. How many teams, he's asking, are teams even built for the playoffs? All right, well, so there's 5 teams that are built to win in the playoffs. Great. That's what makes what the Guardians do year in and year out even that much more special when it comes to just looking at their team and thinking about those players. You think Stephen Kwan was thinking about the payroll last night? You think Jose Ramirez was thinking about the payroll last night? They were thinking about making history, which is why we're excited today, except for that guy.
You can't... I can't go through life just waiting for everything to just fall apart. I mean, there are constraints that the Guardians have that the Yankees and Mets don't seem to have, that the Dodgers obviously don't seem to have. The White Sox, if they ever get their head out of their ass, they probably wouldn't have those either, but still, that's a different conversation. We're just glad that they're terribly run. I could sit there and wait for the other shoe to drop with the Cavs, because that's what the way that people are going to be like for the whole regular season is, what does it all matter? Even do we get to the postseason, I'm going to be annoyed by that thought. With the Browns, yeah, man, the Browns go for it. And now here we are after this quarterback that one of us in the room actually wanted. I didn't want the guy. And now we're sitting here ready to cuss out the team if they even put the guy in. Hey, man, I got to give credit where it's due. And I could separate the owner, who, has been a bit of a tight ass.
I can't even believe we're letting credence to this today, Kenny. This is not the time. It's not the time. We're not going to let that guy ambush and hijack the show because he wants to talk about a topic from July. I'm pretty excited about how the team did last night. I wasn't thinking payroll. Sorry. Maybe I'm not watching baseball the same way that all the smart fans are.
You were still the same guy who didn't want to have this discussion when the season ends because you said you were already annoyed.
Yeah, because we've had it 1,000 times.
But you know
it's
that
boring.
There's going to be more than just Mike who call in with that.
People don't want to hear that guy bitch about payroll when we are in the midst of making history. I'm sorry. I can't imagine the majority of fans want to hear guys like that.
That's a fair point. 216-474-0092. All right. Is it already a memorable run? Do they have to make the postseason for this to be truly special? And I think there is a difference between doubt and hate. But it's hard not to be a gatekeeper either. Ken Carman, Anthony Lyman, take us with you to work in the free Odyssey app. Northeast Factory.
North convenience stores and True Rewards mobile app.
True North convenience stores and Red Bull are an elite matchup. Get returning players Red Bull Original and sugar-free, first-round pick watermelon, and the newest rookie Red Bull Zero. Score 3 8-ounce cans for $6.50 and save 10 cents off a gallon with the True Rewards app. Available in your favorite app store.
In your weeknight with the best segments of the day. The Fan Rewind. Weeknights at 11.
So the Guardians are definitely the funniest team in the city. Like I said before, the NFL tries to offer everything to everybody, or something for everybody. So it's once a week. It's very easy to follow the NFL to some degree. Like they don't got to follow it the way we do. They don't need to get in the nitty gritty with it with. Average depth of target or anything like that, which was something you want to get into later on. Not today, maybe, but tomorrow or Friday. We'll see how today goes. Basketball, there is a general player following. Baseball can be different. Baseball, it's got a different type of feel to it. Its fan base the hard fans have a different type of fan base to them. And Lima got upset with the last caller. I do think, sadly, there's more of the last caller than we want to admit, you and I. But it's also, you mentioned something before the show, and it was, are the haters willing to admit that they're fans yet? Are they jumping on board yet? And I think there's times where, during a baseball season, it's like any relationship with a person. There's times where with even our bestest friends, we've hated them. And we said we're never talking to that SOB ever again. And then things change because you cool off and you move about your life together. With the Guardians, baseball moves like life. You're 15 games back in the division. It was a great year last year. There were a lot of people who were mad. They were moving on. There is, though, something to this where those fans jump back in, and then there's gatekeeping. Because there are people who, no matter what, they're Guardians fans, and they're Guardians fans first. And so there's a little bit of gatekeeping going on, which is only natural. Only natural, by the way. But you asked, are the haters willing to jump aboard? I think there's...
And to open it up and have fun.
I know you don't want to give them air.
To not deprive themselves of the electricity this area, this region is feeling. After a game like last night, you cannot deny me. Drew Carey was back yesterday. People are wanting to have the celebrity drummer again each and every game like it's the playoffs. Like everybody is feeling united in this once again. We look for these moments in our country when we can have people come together again. And right now, Cleveland fans have come together, and I can't imagine wanting to deprive anybody of that excitement that we were feeling last night.
So I agree with you. I agree with you. But I think that you must prepare yourself because for the last 78 years, it hasn't gone our way. So if it doesn't go our way, we're going to get a lot of calls like that. Now, we can decide to not take calls like that.
What, you mean win the World Series?
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably not. Guys are probably not going to win the World Series. But I'm not going to allow that thought and thinking of how I'm going to feel in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I'm not going to allow that to permeate today. That's just such a weird... We have so few in life. We want to get excited about things. I'm not thinking on the day my child is birthed, I'm not thinking about the day I'm going to die. Like, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to celebrate the day that is awesome. I'm not going to think about all the mess in politics and the economy. Who's doing that? Like, you can't deprive yourself in life of the awesomeness. And last night was awesome.
It was.
So how could anybody call up today and not say anything else other than awesome?
Because there's folks who want, and you and I are on the same page. You're the one getting loud. I'm just agreeing with you. There's a lot of people, more than you want to admit, or I want to admit, that want to teach the owner some lesson that he's not going to learn. That is, by the way, not going to be standing up. When your team comes back from 15 back, that's not a lesson that anybody needs to learn. I mean, that's an improbable thing, true. But when your team makes such an historic comeback, that's something that's not a lesson learned to the ownership. So you have to be able to separate that and move forward. By the way, I remember we got calls about Drew Carey. I've never said that Drew Carey wasn't a Clevelander. I remember arguing with people saying that he wasn't a Clevelander. Like, we took calls when I was sitting over there. You and I had a day where something about the childhood house got brought up.
Yeah, this was a long
This was
time
a while ago.
He still owns the house that his mother owned when he was a kid, right? It's in Brooklyn.
And
Old Brooklyn.
We're talking about
Brooklyn.
Something about Cleveland got brought up, and then Lyman goes, "What do you think about Drew Carey being back in town?" I'm like, "That's great. Good for Drew Carey." And I think, like, Drew Carey is a Clevelander, big-time Clevelander, right? There's no question about that.
Well, there's always, anytime we talk about the big-time celebrities, then people start playing scoreboard with who comes back, who doesn't, who's just doing it to curry favor and to pander, who are the real, through thick and through thin, Cleveland fans of this city and everything about this city, or who are the people who are just gone.
Who's a fake Cleveland celebrity?
Fake?
Yeah.
Well, that's what, anytime anybody talks about MGK, I'm like, that guy is the quintessential Cleveland guy. That guy owns businesses here. He is here more than any Cleveland celebrity.
Well, I want to know
I think it's his daughter, right?
Yes, she does live here. I don't, but I didn't ask you who you think's a real Cleveland celebrity. Is there a celebrity out there give me a list of Cleveland celebrities right now?
It's always Halle Berry, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, who we had during the championship run.
Steve Harvey just talked about the Browns the other day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't forget which podcast it was, but he was just talking about being a Browns fan the other day. And I wanted to see Shedeur Sanders.
No, I think Drew Carey's out on the Browns, right? Like, he's just been fed up.
I think that's the thing that we've brought up, and I know Ken, you brought that up too, he's been fed up with
But does that make him not a Clevelander? Because there are plenty of Cleveland fans here that live here that are out on the Browns.
I think he's even went out and said something about the Seahawks because he owns the Sounders, the soccer team in Seattle. Yeah, he's part of that ownership group, so I know he has said in the past he's been with the Seahawks, which was an easy move to make, 10 years ago.
If you've turned your back on one of the teams, does that make you not a Clevelander? I think it takes a little bit of a hit.
I think it takes some of the spice out, right?
Yeah, but if he's showing up and when he brought out the first ball, the actual the game ball,
delivery.
What song do they sing at the or do they play at the end of every win? It's Cleveland Rocks, and it's not that Cleveland Rocks the original version. It's the one from his TV show, and it's him and the rest of the cast in front of Jacobs Field at the time, and they're dancing, and that GIF goes all over the internet at all times. I mean, he's forever tied to this organization more than the Browns even, although, when we do play the Michael Stanley Brown song, he's part of that too,
yes,
right?
Oh,
that's
in
funny,
that video.
He is.
Well, there was a lot.
You could clearly tell that was not in Cleveland when he walks out of that door, as opposed to he is in front of Jacobs Field. The whole thing's here in Jacobs Field. In the show open, they're on Euclid Avenue walking down the whole show. I mean, those things happen in Cleveland. I can historically landmark them.
Yeah.
He's tied in that way.
He's a Cleveland dude. I was surprised. I think that this was during a time like when he first was like against the Browns, and I think some people got worked up into that. Something is definitely
they
snapped.
went 1-31.
Well, yeah,
less than a decade.
Something definitely snapped in his head during that time. Like if I think of like a Cleveland person who's not Cleveland, I'm sorry, it's got to be Halle Berry, right? When's she come around? She come around?
Yeah. I mean, we're setting. She's named after the building we are currently in. And I don't know the last time that I've seen her at any Cleveland-based thing. Not just sports are the easy ones, right? We have a game here all the time, so it would be easy to be courtside or at a game or in a suite at a baseball game.
Let me admit something. I don't know. Maybe she has other. She might not be a big sports fan, so maybe there's other charitable things that she does in the area.
We've got the second biggest playhouse in the country.
We do have the second biggest theater district in the country, but maybe there's different things that she does here. So it's hard to say fake, but I'm like, well, there's people who are from here maybe that they don't really jump back in, which I don't know why you wouldn't jump back in. It's an area that really defends its own in so many ways. I think people would say the Paul brothers. What's your thoughts on them?
They've come back to promote stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, their family is all still here on the West Side.
Do you take them seriously when they rip Cleveland in professional wrestling?
Oh, I thought that's that. If they're not ripping you, then they've forgotten about you. Then you're irrelevant.
That's a heat seat.
Yeah,
That's getting
part of the
that's
fun.
Cheap heat, brother. I don't think there's anybody else there that I would think about that would be in the fake category. But I thought it was nice that Drew Carey was there.
Travis Kelce, I mean, he won't go a day without mentioning Cleveland. His brother won't go a day without mentioning Cleveland.
Well, just because people, for whatever reason, hate Taylor Swift. I can't name a single album by Taylor Swift, so I can't act like I don't like the woman. So, 'cause I don't know any of the music that she plays, so I can't be that affected by it, can I? But boy, there's plenty of people out there that hate his guts for it because he's dating her. Excuse me, he's engaged to her. That's about all I can think of. About last night, coming up at 7:45, obviously we will talk about this. And could a change actually happen on Sunday? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work in the free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima for Diamonds to
Rocky, 10:55 live right here on 92.3 The Fan. Don't miss the Browns preview showtime, 7 o'clock here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
Guardians won last night. Show's over the moon. Oh, and you've been to 30 games this year?
Yeah.
That's a lot of baseball games, Tony.
And I feel bad because I felt like I went to more, but there are a couple that I didn't get my check-in on. I've had some good friends give me some good seats, and I didn't check in on my app then. But
outside of tickets, you've probably spent. I know you have the pass.
Well, on
but
beatboxes alone,
yeah,
I don't have a beatbox pass.
I saw those in the drive-thru over the weekend.
Well,
I was thinking about trying one.
Much. At the drive-thru, they're very affordable.
Oh, how much are they at the drive-thru? Would you think?
They're like $4.5.
$4.5.
In the ballpark, they're almost quadruple.
Oh, wow.
My sister in Chicago was at Riot Fest, and she was talking about the beatboxes. She had one and said the one had her tipsy for hours.
Really?
They do a lot of good work for you.
Well, you said it's 11%, so it's basically like a glass of wine. Wouldn't it be like that?
It's like a box of. I don't know why like ICP doesn't team up with them, because that's what I think of. It's very Gatorade with a little kick behind it, some sort of sports drink.
I don't know why ICP doesn't team up with them.
It feels like an ICP thing to me. And I don't care. I will paint my face and watch the team.
But it's like 3 wine glasses, right? Like the amount of fluid ounces and the alcohol content. Yes. It's almost a bottle of wine.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's what you call a good time at the ballpark.
216-474-0092.
And I did get a few people sending me their beatbox pictures last night.
I did see it on social media yesterday.
Keep sending them.
That was what was great about last night, the communal feel. Like, we get that all the time. Every Browns game, in every town, every NFL town.
We all show up at 1 p.m. on Sunday and do
But
the
in
same.
baseball, how many of those do you get a year? Opening day, okay.
Right.
And then the playoff games.
Right.
Well, last night, and we've talked about how many of these felt like a playoff game, but last night, everybody was dialed in. There's no way, even the guy that we gave a hard time to, that guy was dialed in. Come on.
It was not Monday, so you didn't have a Monday Night Football game, even because if there's two teams that you don't even care about on Monday Night Football, some people are choosing that.
Because it takes away the gamblers and the fantasy.
Yes.
But
you had everybody last night.
But last night, not only were people monitoring, they were watching. In the 6th inning, the amount of texts that I got about all-time bizarre inning. First of all, the roller coaster of emotions, right? Because you're getting things started. You're Quan, and you start to feel the pressure building, and then when the unfortunate thing happens with Fry, now everybody is like, what does this mean for him? All right, now if this team just goes on to lose yesterday, it's like that sucked the energy out of the entire stadium. People are going to be mad at Scooble, even though he clearly did not do that intentionally. Like, we all understand from just a human standpoint.
An immediate remorseful reaction to it, right through the glove down, hands in the face.
But it impacted him so much that God, I hate to say it, it helped us. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt it helped us. That's not how we wanted to go about business.
I mean, when you're committing a balk, which is, again, I think it's a hard thing to do because I don't know if anybody actually knows what a balk is. It's just something that exists. It's like write-offs in Seinfeld.
I'll tell you, I can spot a balk on an 11-year-old pitcher. It's very hard on a major league pitcher.
Yeah, that's so true.
To tell where a balk is. So there's going to be a lot of people that go,
okay,
I can tell
in
a
Little
balk.
League, you're like, was he attempting a jump shot?
Can I just ask you something? Can I just ask you something? Like, I've never done travel baseball, and I never will, right?
Why is that, Ken?
There were multiple reasons. He's still got to go to school, so I'll tell you another time. Are you a guy, real quick before we get to the Browns, are you a guy who calls out balks at the game?
Well, I coach first base, so I have to go balk. I don't do it loud, but especially if the ump's near me, I'll go balk. Now, normally they're not near me when there's a balk that matters.
So I've done first base too, and I will see with something which is like, I don't know, but I'm like, that's clearly.
It looks weird.
And I don't want to say anything because I'm just like, I think everybody in the vicinity would be like, come on.
Now there are times like, so we we're still at a level this last season where it was like you get one freebie.
Yeah.
Next year, I think you don't get any freebies, but like this year, so after the pitch, I'd be like, oh, hey, I think that was a buck.
See,
go ahead and get the freebie out of
that part. You should always get at least one freebie. I don't care if it's 11-year-olds or Charlie Huff. I think you should get a freebie and just go, hey, you got to come set. Usually it's the come and set thing. That seems to be the problem. You'll know all this.
Or the
whole
shoulder tipping, too, when you look back at first.
That, too.
The whole purpose is deception on the hitter, but in Little League, like, you're ready for anything.
Nobody is intentionally balking in Little League. It just happens.
I'm just glad they know which way to look sometimes in Little League, because it had been a struggle for some years.
I have never seen a Little Leaguer take a baseball and say it's 4th and 15, we're kicking the field goal, I'm going to launch this baseball into right field. Never seen it. And I've watched a lot of Little League games.
We go around the AFC North coming up at 8 o'clock. So I want to get back to the Guardians coming up here in a bit. However, you think that there could be a change during the game on Sunday?
I do.
Tell me why. Because I don't. I think that if Joe, unless there's an injury, obviously, I think if you have Joe start, Joe plays the entire game. I don't know if I want to put Dylan Gabriel in harm's way and make a replacement during the football game. As bad as Joe, and Joe's been rough, as bad as Joe has been, I don't think I want to make some sort of replacement during the game. I think that once he plays, he finishes the entire game. And if he goes out there and he finishes the entire game in the garbage, then we'll talk about it afterwards.
But you do admit, like, we're close then. We're just disagreeing on half.
I said I'm game by game.
Yeah.
Because, listen, you're 1-2. So, like, the Giants, they just made their move to Jackson Dart. Yeah, you're 0-3. Your season's over. The Browns, they're holding on to 1-2. I don't think there's a lot of fans out there who believe that the Browns are going to the playoffs. The guys in the locker room do. So now they're focused on trying to beat the Lions on Sunday. So you're not making a move right now. But if you go 1-3, yeah, like, let's have that conversation. Because at 1-3 at the end of September, it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard. Now, there's a couple teams in your division who might have made it easier for you to try to stick around and see that. But again, it's going to be really hard. So I don't know if you make this change, and this is a tough thing to do. Do you make the change in the spirit of trying to win football games, or do you make the change in the spirit of trying to see what you have in this guy before you move on? Like, that is a conversation I'm not ready to answer to yet. I want to see where they go on it. But I'm just thinking, hey, you're starting the 40-year-old for a reason. It's to keep the veterans with it. If you go out there and he sucks again, because he's been bad 2 out of 3 games now, if he goes out there and he sucks again, then I think we have to have that discussion getting ready for it, even though that game would be in London. I don't want to just start Joe Flacco in London because it's 7 hours away across a continent. I want to make sure that Dylan Gabriel is ready to go if he's ready to go. But I just don't think that unless he's injured, which, God, I hope nothing happens like that, I'm just playing Joe for the entire game. Like, he has to be just astoundingly, terribly bad for us to make a decision like that during the game.
This might be totally leaning on just everything. When they were 0-2, and let's face it, most of us just assumed they were going 0-3 and losing to Green Bay. Were you not hearing things from, like, sources, but were you not hearing a conversation start to tick up about Dylan Gabriel is ready, the team believes in him, and he's the next man up, and we could be a lot closer than people think? Like, the whole thought of it's not happening for 6 weeks, like, that wasn't the thought permeating around the team anymore.
I don't think that they ever made. I don't think that they. And Kevin was careful to never make some 6-week declaration. That was something that I think we all looked at and goes, well, 6 weeks seems to make a lot of sense there. You got Miami coming in week 7. Like, 6 weeks seems to be the thing. But they never said anything like that. And I think right now you're ahead of schedule. I think we're very much week to week. And the only thing that probably saved Joe Flacco's job was the defense and special teams play on Sunday. Now, to us, anyway, I think to them, maybe they still would have played him. Because I don't know how close Dylan Gabriel really is. I need to hear how close he really is. So if they start dropping hints here and there that, hey, he's coming along faster than we thought, he's progressing nicely, they're starting to tell you that they're getting ready to make that change.
That's kind of what my feeling was.
You felt that way. And Jackson Dart's a first-round pick, but you saw that going on with the Giants.
Yeah, and the whole thing for Gabriel, like, people are like, he's played all those college games, how is he not ready? I haven't said that he's not ready. I'm sure he's ready to go play. And a lot of quarterbacks could just go play in an NFL game and have good outcomes, bad outcomes, whatever. That doesn't mean anything about their long-term development. I just don't know if he's good. Now, there's only one way to find out, obviously, and how the Browns might feel he's really good, and then they see him in real games. I thought they probably thought DTR was prepared enough to make that start against Baltimore last year, and then we saw he didn't belong. Was he
Baltimore 2 years ago?
Was he not prepared, or was he not good?
I think it was a combination of probably both. I don't think he was prepared whatsoever. I really do believe. I refused to believe it at the time. And I was wrong at the time. Well, I misled my own feelings at the time. He was not ready to go, and it really was a 10:30 a.m. surprise for him that day he went, which I thought was, and as the rant showed, I thought was really irresponsible. That you had this other guy get ready, who's supposed to be the guy getting ready, and it was a question all week, and we did nothing to get the other guy ready. Like, there's a possibility you wake up in the morning, you could be playing. And then it was this craziness. And clearly they tried to still execute a game plan that was for Deshaun Watson, for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, which led to a bigger disaster there. And I felt he wasn't that great to begin with, but it certainly did its best to torpedo his career before it even got off the ground.
Yeah, so I look at it like, I'm sure Dylan Gabriel could come in and, get guys lined up, have the play. Although I don't, by the way, the play that Flacco did get them lined up. Like, no, I don't know if Gabriel would have been ready for that. That's a veteran. That's a I've been doing this a long time situation. If a rookie could do that, man, I'd be blown away by a rookie's poise, composure, all that stuff. That was awesome. That was the one thing Flacco, for an otherwise losing effort.
You got to know the time. You got to know everything. You got to know exactly where to go with the football. You got to have a lot of experience to be able to do that quickly. That was impressive.
Yeah, So the reason I just think if they are, and again, it has to be circumstantial, like Joe Flacco could be playing poorly in Detroit, but if it's a one-possession game, well, no, I don't think they're going to make a move to get a jolt. I also think part of it is, I think the game is being managed right now by Kevin Stefanski. I know people are seeing a lack of points getting put on the board, and they're just assuming he's not coordinating a good offense or whatever. I think part of it is he knows he doesn't have a treasure trove of receivers. And I know that also, if Joe Flacco plays the way that he's played his whole career, he's going to be turning the ball over, and they're just going to lose. If they turn the ball over against Detroit, they're just going to lose. It's a road game. They're going to lose. So managing a game is not just, well, let's just let Joe Flacco throw the ball up and down the field. Like, no, they'll lose. I mean, we all agree with that, right? Like, they have zero chance to win if he's turning the ball over. And if he's throwing the ball down the field a bunch, he's going to turn the ball over.
I want to address that when we come back as well. 216-474-0092. Could Dylan Gabriel, would you make a switch in-game? Would you be willing to make a switch in-game with Dylan Gabriel on Sunday? And I saw something at the ballpark yesterday during the Tigers game that simply just warmed my heart. I will tell you what that is coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Anthony
practice squad on Tuesday. The former mentor and Kent State receiver spending time with the Browns during training camp until he suffered a hamstring injury during the preseason opener against the Carolina Panthers. Don't miss the Browns preview show tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Something nearly brought a tear to my eye yesterday. I hope there's more than just this man who I saw. My buddy was at the Guardians game last night. He was absolutely sloshed. Good seats, too. But he was with the regular ticket guys. Just sitting in the regular old seats, not the Lima suite like he sat in during the game on Sunday.
So he wasn't next to Donovan Mitchell, who looked like he was 3 rows up?
No. I don't even know if he was... Buddy, my buddy was texting me about he was beatboxing. Oh, and he's like,
tell Owen,
beatbox. Tell Owen I'm hitting the beatbox.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, Owen's busy, man. I'm not texting Owen about my buddies. Like,
I don't know if I'm beatboxing when I'm doing that, though.
Well, what's Owen going to say back? Like, great. Okay.
I'm proud of people.
Yeah.
They choose to go out and beatbox.
You're an influencer now, Owen.
He sends this picture, and it's a guy. He goes, this nice old man sitting next to me is keeping score. And this man he's got a Guardian scorecard out, and it's got the C on. So they must hand out Indians or Guardian scorecards when you go in the stadium at some point, or you can get them somewhere.
I think you have to buy them. I'm not sure. I have fan services. I don't know if it comes as part of. I don't do it, but I have seen other people doing that too with the Guardian scorecard. And then we saw a guy a couple of weeks ago that had his own book, and he's went to more games than me, I think.
Oh my God!
And that book had games from this season. I'm sure he had games from the past too.
I went to a game last year with my dad and his girlfriend, and there was a guy sitting in front of us, and he had one of them big ass binder scorebooks, and I wanted to go up and I wanted to be like, I want to shake your hand because I love the Game Changer is killing keeping score in this country. Keeping score is an art form. Game Changer is a necessary evil because Grandma and Grandpa got to be able to see Junior be able to get his hits in travel baseball. So I don't mean to kill Game Changer on it, but it's killed the art of getting to keep score. There's something fun about marking in the single and writing 1B on there, and then some have the boxes where you can write the strikes and the balls and the whatnot like there, and then I love paperwork.
And you're also on pins and needles waiting for the broadcast crew to clarify what happened last inning.
Bingo. And then you could have arguments about how the official scorer scored certain plays there because you might have seen it differently. And some people have sent letters in the past. And he goes, this guy's keeping score over here. And the scorecard, it's a clean sheet. It's a good-looking sheet. You can tell he didn't have to erase anything. It looked accurate throughout it. And I go, man, this is just a lost art here. More folks that can keep score, the better.
I think right now there are a lot of people listening go, what is Ken talking about?
Oh, my God,
no
guys,
idea.
you're denying yourself a great pleasure of the game.
I will say Game Changer at least leaves you in there. People have to learn how to rule on an actual hit or an error and things like that. But it's taken away from the drawing the little line to first, and then do you make it all the way around? Do you color in your diamond when you're done?
I like to color.
How do you put F9, or do you make a little curvy line to show that the ball went to a certain spot in the field? There's a lot of nuance.
And when you're talking about giving hits, it's much easier to press button and give away free hits than it is to go, if I'm going to write this out, this is more E6. And you're going to put it on an error on the shortstop is what you're going to do. So kids, if you're going in, they have these books, right? And you get out a pencil, and usually it's a number 2 Ticonderoga. Lee Corso on the Board of Governors, by the way. Bet you didn't know that. There's your little snippet. And you get out a Ticonderoga pencil. Hopefully you have 2 because it might get a little dull during the time depending on how much writing you got to do.
And don't try to do this with a mechanical pencil.
And no, because it'll break.
That's silly.
It's not very good. So you get your pencils out and you write their names in there, and all of a sudden I've turned into Jeff Phelps without me even realizing it. It's like that Matt Damon scene. But either way, I'm going to continue to do this. Whereas you write their names in there, and then you might write write their batting averages if that matters to you, or their OPS right underneath there, and you write their home runs and everything like that. Because when I used to do play-by-play, I used to get there, you just get there to the stadium early, and there was a great thing about the silence of the ballpark. You get the lineup sheets and you fill it all in, and man, it was awesome. And then you start to fill in the thing as you go down, and man, it was just the best thing ever, man. Filling in a scorebook. When you guys learn how to keep score, boy, it's the cat's ass. Learning how to do the K backwards on a strikeout, looking and circling the K.
That took some practice.
Oh my gosh!
What happened to the game we loved?
You do still need to learn how to do your books, because game changer in the middle of July, sometimes it overheats. Sometimes you get a little laggy. Maybe you're playing a team out in the middle of nowhere and you've got no cell service.
Keeping score is the best.
What are we going to do next year when the robot umps come?
You know what? I made a big deal about that, and I don't think I'm going to end up making a big deal about it. I think you're right. But can I answer you this? Who's the kid from Jackson for the Tigers? What the hell's that kid's name again?
Dylan.
He got struck out last night, and he was bitching up a storm.
Yes, he was.
I think he kind of had a point on
Dylan
a couple of
Dingler.
those. Are you going to be happy if we're in that situation next year? Bottom or top of the ninth, Cade Smith at home trying to get the game finished off, and we got to put the headsets on now. We have to make this quick thing.
He had an argument for it last night, definitely. There was a point where it felt like that home play now he was feeling it too.
He's feeding off the energy.
And I'm cool with that. That's why you want to get those home field games, right? So that you can maybe affect that. You, the guy in the regular seats, can affect how the human behind the plate calls the game, because Cade was pumping them in there, and they were just off the edge. And according to the little shadow box that they put on the TV, maybe it wasn't a strike, but it didn't matter.
That's why it was huge.
Flying through.
Honestly, I thought about that. It was huge that they added the 2 runs in the 7th. Because if it's a one-run game, are you getting those calls? Things change a little bit.
216-474-0092. Yeah, but for all you kids on the way to school, learning how to keep score. I know they want to teach you Common Core math. Have a day where the math teacher teaches you how to keep scoring a ball game, and keep scoring bowling too while you're at it. Let's make this a proper country
which one's
again.
Worth 20 and which one's worth 18?
I'm not very good at math. That got a little confusing for me. All right, we'll go around the AFC North coming up at 8. I wouldn't make a change in game, and I'll tell you why. Would you make a change in game to Dylan Gabriel if Joe Flacco sucked on Sunday? I think that you're asking a lot of Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, if they're down 21-3, I'll just give out just for an example.
Do I want Dylan Gabriel to engineer a comeback? I'll put Dylan Gabriel in garbage time. Mm-hmm. I hope it doesn't come to that. They put Dylan Gabriel in garbage time going, hey, you don't expect a comeback. If you put him in at 21-3, are you saying second quarter or something like that?
I was thinking more second half, but
I don't want to put too much on him to engineer some sort of a comeback there. So you're thinking maybe coming out of the third quarter if it's 21-3
and it feels like we can't move the football. There's no way Joe Flacco, his lack of mobility has come crashing down on the offense.
I don't think I'd do it. I don't think I'd do it. And I'm getting a lot of Baker on this, and I'm going, Baker, first off, Tyrod Taylor got hurt in that game.
Yeah, people forget about that.
He wasn't just pulled because he was ineffective. He wasn't very effective, but he didn't just get pulled. Tyrod got hurt in that game. And Baker was number 1 overall. This is a third-round pick. And to some folks, overdrafted third-round pick. The Browns aren't going to think that, so they're going to have more confidence in the guy. So that argument actually works against me if I say overdrafted third-round pick, because the Browns certainly have confidence in the guy. But I just think it's the wrong time to put him in there. I think you'll eventually get to him. Jackson Dart gets in. Jackson Dart's a first-round pick. He's a major investment. And you're not doing anything with Russell Wilson. The Russell Wilson experiment for all 32 teams should be over. He should be on a TV desk somewhere next year, and that should be the end of it. For Jackson Dart, that makes sense for the Giants. You're 0-3. The Browns are 1-2. You're still trying to keep your vets focused. You just got done yelling about how it was a team victory. I think it would be a terrible time to do so. It would start to unravel things. Because I'm trying to do a couple of things here. I want to win football games. But I also am trying to stave off, because I don't think they're going to win a lot of football games. I want to stave off an unraveling as far as as late as I possibly can. Because I got to keep everybody interested, and I can't have these guys When the Dolphins are having player-only meetings in week 2, that's a scary thing. I can't have them turn it into the fish. I can't have them do that. And you're probably close, so I wouldn't put Dylan Gabriel in halfway through this football game on Sunday. If you guys want to, fine, 216-474-0092. You just got to make me a good argument, because if you think that he's going to really engineer a comeback and win, I got to tell you, I think that's really improbable. I think that's 15 games back in the AL Central in July. Improbable. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think a lot of people at that time probably would have side-eyed you like we did Owen, and I think a lot of people would side-eye you if you think that Dylan Gabriel was coming in to fix everything in a game against the Lions.
The only reason
we're a good team.
The only reason I thought there was a remote possibility is because it just seemed to me there started to be some chatter last week. Oh, Dylan's ready. Dylan Gabriel's ready, meaning the team was starting to kind of put that out there, that, oh, he's ready to go. Well, if the team is saying he's ready to go, and Joe Flacco, this would now be, let's say if it's the first half, it would now be, man, they had the great drive to start out the Cincinnati game. There wasn't a whole bunch else, even though I thought Flacco, by and large, looked decent. But they didn't put a ton of points up on the board. Then Baltimore was a disaster, even though the 2 interceptions weren't his fault, but it was a disaster. And then Green Bay was a disaster offensively until the final 2.5 minutes. And Quinshon Judkins and his 2 runs were probably a bigger part of that. And then, yes, I'll give Flacco credit for the throw to Njoku that set up the game-winning field goal. So if it's another half of struggles, it's just now we're not seeing anything good. It is now a long enough stretch where it is starting to become unbelievable to think that Flacco is going to be able to turn it around and the defenses have the book on him and Stefanski's offense.
It's been an underwhelming thing with Joe. And I think that there will naturally come a time where we move on from Joe. And I don't think you're going back to Joe based on performance. I think you might go back to Joe based on injury. I think, like, once Joe goes to the bench, I do foresee a scenario. I think you guys do if you see common sense. You could see a scenario where Dylan goes in, plays week 5 against the Vikings, even in London. Plays week 5, plays week 6, plays week 7. Something not good happens week 7 or something like that, and it's Joe who goes back in, not Shador. Like, now I think it's based on who's ready, who's not ready.
I'm not sure that, only because, and maybe I've been listening to Daryl too much. Daryl says it's the point of no return. Once you go to Dylan Gabriel, that's it for Joe.
No, I don't think that that's the case. I think that Joe has lived his life now as a journeyman, as a backup. I think you can, based on injury, I think you can go back to Joe. Because if Dylan looks way over his head, then I have to question you guys going, wait a minute, why did you take him? You didn't take him because of physical characteristics. You took him because of smarts. If he looks like he's that much in over his head, that's also an indictment of the people who took Dylan Gabriel. So you got to go out there and make sure that he looks good mentally. He looks like he can conduct the offense and that they can score over maybe 20 points in a game for the first time in what seems like 18 years. Hopefully you can do something like that. But if he gets hurt, which, guys, he's not a big guy. You know there's a distinct possibility a guy who can get out and scoot, who's not a big guy, he could get hurt, and now all of a sudden you have a problem. Are you willing to just go to Shedeur Sanders because you just want to see Shedeur Sanders? I don't think the football team thinks the way that we do. Yes, I'd want to go to Shedeur Sanders because I'm curious to see him. I think the football team would go, is he ready or is he not ready? And if you can't say he's ready to go out there and try to conduct an offense, then you're going back to Joe. I don't think it's just over for Joe if you were to pull Joe. I think Joe's in there in case of emergency. Because if Dylan were to get hurt during a game, do I want the same scenario that I just argued against Dylan Gabriel? A guy who they all say knows the offense, knows plenty of offenses, is a very smart football guy, a guy who will eventually be a head coach in football. Like, do I want to take him? If I'm afraid to put him in halfway through the game, why do I want to do it with Shedeur Sanders, who Daryl just last night with Jake said they don't think he's ready whatsoever? And that was as September 23rd. That's what Daryl had said last night. 216-474-0092. Let me get to Eric in Cleveland real quick. Hello.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me?
I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about quarterbacks and Shedeur and all these guys, but man, our offensive line, man, we haven't shored that up and put any money really into the line. You can put Lamar Jackson and anybody back there, man. Flacco's running for his life.
Eric, they've got a lot of money tied up in the offensive line.
We had the most expensive offensive line in the NFL a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, it just seems like he's running for his life, man. I mean, if you notice the last 3 games we've had, man, Joe's been running, and he runs, and he looks slow, but he doesn't have the people to block for him like that.
I gotta tell you, Eric, I thought even with the guys who were backups coming in, thank you for the call. I thought even with the guys who were backups coming in, I thought that he was protected enough to get the ball out. Either guys aren't getting open, which was happening in the Cincinnati game, or I don't think he's seeing the field. And right now, I don't think he's seeing the field. I think this is more of a Joe problem than it is an offensive line problem. Now, I wonder how long I can say that, because if KT Levinson is a guy who becomes your long-term answer for this for the rest of the season, I don't know if that's much of an answer. Same thing I have to say with Cornelius Lucas. I always want to call him Cornelius Bennett. Cornelius Lucas. Like, Cornelius Lucas is a career backup. So he's almost in a Chris Hubbard role. If I'm looking to him for a long-term answer, is it still going to be that way? As of right now, though, I got to put it on Joe. 216-474-0092. Ken Wyman, James Rapine, Andrew Filipponi, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. We go around the AFC North at 8 o'clock. Up next, your Guardians on the precipice of history. It's about last night in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Anthony Lima for QC Kinetics, where QC Kinetics, you can say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain once and for all, because their medical director, Dr. Aaron Wolkoff, his team are incredible at being able to help you out and avoid going under the knife once and for all. In fact, I'm part of a growing percentage. 97% of Cleveland patients say we're noticing a measurable and marked improvement to our pain. So if you've been told surgery is your best or only option, make sure to go to QC Kinetics. We're talking about orthobiologic cellular therapies. That's PRP treatments to revitalize your joints. In just a couple of treatments.
Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
So much can happen around the globe that we never hear of.
Embarrassing. We got to be better on defense.
It won't matter till April. I think we know that. Y'all gonna right evolve. We could go 82-0. No one would care.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. He couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
First game of this all-important potential playoff series when the Guardians and the Tigers goes to Cleveland 5-2 last night at Progressive Field with a 3-run, 6-inning rally that featured multiple infield hits, a balk, a guy getting hit in the face. You name it, they had it here. Manager Stephen Vogt talking about the 6th inning for the Guardians. Quintessential Guards ball, according to him.
We got a little bit of help with the error and the wild pitch, but Tarek Skubal's the best pitcher in the game, and we're just trying to find ways to put pressure on him. But that's why we work on our base running. That's why we work on our bunting, and 2 great bunts to get us going. And Hosey gets the jam shot single, and then Gabby gets the job done scoring Hosey from third. Hosey, inducing the balk. Just all that whole inning was the things that we talk about, we preach, we work on, and the guys executed.
Could you imagine being a Tigers fan today being like, yeah, they hit home runs against us last week against Skubal, and then this week it's all in the infield. They can't even get it out of the infield, and they're still beating us.
Yeah, I don't know if I love that is considered, even if it's accurately described as Guards ball, because I do know if we do want to start to talk about this team and what they can do in the playoffs. The pitching, great. Guards ball, I don't know how much what we saw that inning's going to work. I'll just take that was a one-time thing, and that was miraculous, and it's what was needed against arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Here are the numbers real quick. They are 28th in slugging, 29th on base percentage, 29th batting average, 29th on base plus slugging. And yet, here they are with a negative run differential. They are in command. They control their own destiny now to win the division. Just insane.
Let's just call Guards ball any ball that wins. Because when they were not winning, there were a lot of nasty comments that we were getting about Guards ball. It's just any baseball that wins.
So if they go out tonight and hit 6 home runs as a team and win like 9-1, that's Guards ball. That's not Guards ball.
Yes, it is.
Nobody's going to acknowledge that as Guards ball compared to what we've seen in the past.
It doesn't matter. Anyone that wins, anything that you can do to win is Guards ball.
Guards ball is 18 straight games, giving up 2 or less runs for the starting rotation. That's Guards ball.
Speaking of the pitching here, I have some numbers for you as well. 12 strikeouts from Gavin Williams in the victory is 12-5 on the year. 19 strikeouts overall by the Guardians. That is a season high for them. And Riley Green was asked by the Detroit press after the game about it. Even he couldn't believe it.
19 Ks. That's not going to get it done usually.
19 Ks for what?
For you guys.
Tonight?
Yeah. Tonight? Tonight, 19 Ks?
So refresh my memory.
That wasn't even a question. That the guy just looked at him and goes, 19 Ks. That's not going to get it done.
Refresh my memory, Ken.
Sounds like he's mad at him.
How many potential outs are there in a 9-inning baseball game?
27.
There's 27.
Yeah.
19? I mean, that's Roger Clemens numbers back in the day. Like 19 strikeouts, and Gavin Williams was obviously sensational. You can make the argument. Was that a better, bigger outing from Gavin Williams than the almost no-hitter?
Yes. Yeah,
I'd say so.
Especially considering who he was going up against.
Look at what's at stake.
That matters for starting pitchers.
Look at what's at stake. Yes.
And understanding the lineup. Let's be honest. What'd you guys think of the lineup when it was posted by Vogt? What'd you think yesterday? Because
I thought it was fine.
Austin Hedges drew a great walk that led to 2 runs in the 7th inning.
I'm kind of used to it.
Well, the way Bo has batted the last 3 weeks, anytime it's been Hedges in the lineup, but then you have to go back to, Hedges calls a great game, right? And so what's more important to you? It's been Bo Naylor's bat more than Austin Hedges' ability to control what pitches are being thrown. They've both been good. Hedges has actually hit the last couple games.
He's been good the last couple of months. Can I pinch hit Bo Naylor? Can I pinch hit him?
Well,
or is that going to bring me heat?
But I was just going to mention, think about where every move in these games, we're going to scrutinize them more and more. Schneemann comes in and pinch hits. Like, that is the kind of stuff that it makes your manager look like he is in total command, and he is squeezing out every last drop of functionality out of a lineup that stinks.
19 Ks. That ain't gonna do it, you son of a...
Also, the
19 what? What a clip. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Going over from that to the Cavaliers press conferences yesterday, we got to hear from the Cavs brass, Kenny Atkinson, and Kobe Altman. They have similar sounding names. Kobe Altman yesterday talking about the Cavaliers offseason approach.
Tweaking, finding players on the margins, obviously adding Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance Jr. are huge additions to the roster. But in terms of like how we approached this offseason, I think was more getting with Kenny and saying, how do we continue to internally grow some of our best players?
Now, this comes on the same day the Cavaliers made a pair of moves. They acquired Killian Hayes and a former lottery pick, and former Indiana Pacer Thomas Bryant, who had a couple of killing moments last year for the Pacers against the Cavs in the playoffs.
Yeah, Bryant was ready to go overseas, I think, and fortunately, we were, for him, I should say, fortunately, we came a-calling. He was pretty bad last year, except against us. Against us, he had some dagger shots. But look, the offseason, in general, there was very little that they could do. And here is going to be the question. Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance, when healthy, I actually think those can be upgrades. We just don't know. They just have such a hard time staying healthy at all that, like, will I be surprised if those guys go down again? And they get a little thin, especially, to start the year without Max Strus. They get a little thin. I am nervous about how incredible Ty Jerome was last. I can't even just say regular season. People forget the Miami series ever happened. He was really good in the Miami series, too.
Are you the type of fan that assumes that when you get hurt players are going to stay hurt, or do you think that they're going to be healthy? I think I feel the same way you do.
Especially in the NBA.
I think that you feel the same way. I feel the same way you do.
But if those guys are there come playoff time,
great.
It is going to be huge, and I do think it offers them some more flexibility than they had a year ago.
Speaking of injuries, yesterday we had some news that Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer will be undergoing right hand surgery this morning. And this is going to be an interesting situation for not only Browns fans who are looking at the next potential franchise quarterback, but Oklahoma's odds, his Heisman odds as well. He was the Heisman odds-on favorite going into yesterday. Now it's set to a couple other players here in the mix.
Kind of stinks because they've got their schedule is so loaded, and we were on the phone yesterday, Ken, and we were looking at the Red River, what do they call it? Rivalry. That game.
I always look at those burnt orange and I go, that's my rival.
That's my rival. I don't like them.
I don't like my rivals.
So that is the game for sure.
Put those horns up.
Down.
See what he just did?
Horns down. Horns down.
That's why you're my rival.
You kids grew up. You guys are doing 6'7". We used to flash gang signs at each other and then do horns down.
6'7's not a gang sign nowadays. It's not fighting words.
They do this. All the kids do this.
So Oklahoma's got,
and they love it when you do it.
Oklahoma's got Kent State.
Yeah,
they got Kent State next. So
that's a hell of a matchup.
The house divided at my place.
The flashes. Are you gonna have the half jersey? What are you gonna go with? So then you got Texas, and that Texas game. Texas right now is ranked 10th. Then South Carolina, but then it's Ole Miss is ranked, Tennessee is ranked, Alabama's ranked, Mizzou is ranked. Right now,
they don't have much of a running game. He's what keeps the juice going there. That defense is good. Yeah, once you get past Kent, you got some good offense. You got Tennessee on that schedule. You're going to have to keep up with some of them, man. I don't know if you're going to be able to pitch shutouts. That is not good for Oklahoma and Brent Venables.
Real quick, Fernando Mendoza was the one that's now the current favorite for the Heisman. Jeremiah Smith tied for second odds now. That's it for About Last Night.
Dane Brugler going to join us at 9, by the way. I think that we are shortchanging each other as a populace. Like, I like Fernando Mendoza. I also want to tell people he threw against a defense that had 5 guys missing. That doesn't mean all of a sudden I hate Fernando Mendoza. I think now, more than ever, we can't be so one-sided. We can't be so stuck in the mud on our opinions of quarterbacks. Dane going to join us at 9 o'clock. Coming up next, what's the level of panic in Baltimore? Does it feel like the season is already over in Cincinnati? Is the Steelers' defense on their way back? Ken Wyman, Baltimore. James Rapine, Cincinnati. Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. We go around the AFC North next on The Fan.
Anthony Lima for Diamonds Direct, Corner Richmond and Cedar Road, your local.
Ending up at the Cleveland Clinic, further testing is believed he was held there overnight for observation. Browns back to practice today, getting ready for Sunday's game in Detroit. Coming up later on this morning, we will hear from head coach Kevin Stefanski, 10:55, live right here on 92.3 The Fan. Don't miss the Browns preview show tonight, 7 o'clock, here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Make the afternoon drive your soundtrack on the way into the Guardians games. And talk about the game on your way home on overtime. The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
It is time to go around the AFC North, as now a division that everybody thought was going to be Baltimore's is now up for grabs. And is there panic setting in the Charm City? Is the season already feeling like it's over in Cincinnati? Are the Steelers' defense back on its way to being the Steelers' defense that we knew from before? Well, let's first start with Baltimore. 105.7 The Fans, Ken Wyman in Baltimore. Ken, what's the panic level in the Charm City as they get set to go to Kansas City on Sunday afternoon to take on the Chiefs?
I think there's a lot of panic because they told us all offseason that they learned from last year and they had fixed the defense. And so far this year, it doesn't seem they've learned from last year. And the defense stinks again. And the game Monday night against the Lions, it's the first time I can remember in a while where they lost because they just got beat. Like, we've had examples of them beating themselves. The Lions punched them in the mouth. And that was, I think, the most disheartening part about that whole thing. And they couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't stop the pass, and they couldn't generate any pass rush. And I don't know when Nnamdi Madubuike is coming back. And Van Noy will be back at some point, but we didn't expect him to do what he's done so far. And he's 33, 34 years old. So I think a lot of panic is going on in Baltimore right now.
All right, Lamar Jackson still had some jaw-dropping numbers, but sacked 7 different times. Is he just running himself into trouble at this point?
Well, so that's the other part of this, is the offensive line stinks. And I also think the Lions did a good job of confusing Lamar. And I don't know that he was 100% sure what he was looking at, and he held the ball too long, and that created some of the sacks. He just wouldn't. There were times where it looked like he should just run, and he didn't run, and he was worried about the spy. So I feel like he was a little confused Monday night, and Steve Spagnuolo seems to have the secret sauce against Lamar Jackson. The Chiefs have won 5 of these 6 meetings.
With Derrick Henry, is he washed?
I don't think he's washed, but I think the fumbles are in his head. And again, as I mentioned, the line stinks at the moment, so there's nowhere to run. No, I don't think he's washed. We saw against Buffalo he can still go. We saw the first drive Monday night. He looked good. But once the Lions started asserting their will on the Ravens' offensive line, there was going to go. And the other thing is, and there's a lot of blame to go around here, but I don't think Todd Monken called a great game on Monday night. These pitch plays out to the right side, and Roger Rosengarten was getting abused. And back to the defense, I thought Zach Orr was called a very naive game. And Chuck Pagano is part of this coaching staff. This is second year Zach Orr has gotten off to an awful start. If they quietly let Zach Orr start calling the plays, I would not hate that.
If you guys fall in Arrowhead, how scared do you think the fan base will be about a 1-3 record to start the season?
I think people are expecting, because it's the Chiefs, but I think, and you've got they have the Texans and Rams looming. The Texans, I think, are fraudulent, but the Rams, I think Sean McVay will come in here and punch them in the mouth too. So yeah, I think a team that frankly was Super Bowl or bust is asking themselves a lot of questions, looking in the mirror as they get ready for the Chiefs on Sunday.
Strong statements from Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. We now go to Cincinnati, Locked On Bengals and SI's James Rapine, as the Bengals are in the Mile High City on Monday night to take on the Denver Broncos at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Does it feel like the season is over in Cincinnati, James?
I don't think it feels like it's over, at least to me. Now, I think some fans may feel differently. But no, at 2-1, you can't say the season is over.
Well, the defense, it's something that obviously is a huge question mark. It's been that way for a while now since you guys lost in the Super Bowl. The defense has never really reached that level again. So what are the potential fixes? Because this got really disastrous last week against the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm far more worried about the offense than I am the defense. The offense was supposed to be the strength, and you're right. They had 5 fumbles, lost 3 of them, 2 interceptions. They can't run the ball. They've struggled to consistently pass the ball this season, and so as many questions as this defense faced, and there's still plenty of questions, and they're far from perfect. I think the offense is the key here. They have to get back on track if this team is going to win some games and stay in the thick of it without Joe Burrow.
How long do they hold on to Jake Browning before they might make a change?
I think they're in on Jake, and and believe in him, and aren't really thinking that way. But it's a really unique position to be in, especially if they continue to struggle on offense. And that's why this week is such a big test, is you're going up against the Denver team. Their backs are against the wall. They don't want to fall to 1-3. And if you fall to 2-2 on a short week with Detroit looming, that's a really tough spot to be in.
Yeah, that is a huge matchup. You think I saw PFF had Bo Nix as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. So if he lights up your defense, I mean, it seems like it's over. Jamar Chase, is he somebody that is going to get louder and louder throughout the season, as you sometimes see with big-time star wide receivers when things aren't going their way?
Well, if you get him the ball, he might not get loud. But, yeah, he did not talk after the game the other day. Neither did T. Higgins.
It's the opposite of loud.
I think there's a reason why they decided not to talk. And so, yeah, we'll see. If it win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. I would expect them to talk after Monday night. And if it's a frustrating loss, then, yeah, I think they could be pretty revealing.
James Rapine, Locked On Bengals, SI.com. Could at the end of this season, could Zach Taylor be in any sort of trouble? Oh, we just lost him.
But Joe Burrow force a trade.
Okay. Nicely produced. We will now wait for him to get on Andrew Filipponi. For whatever reason, was waiting back there. Maybe we won't get Pony. Pony didn't answer the phone for me over the last 2 weeks. Now Pony's not answering the phone at all now.
Well, I noticed he's talking a little bit about Mike Tomlin, and as someone who's been very critical of Mike Tomlin, there are some numbers that indicate that Tomlin still is able to pull out functionally a lot of these one-possession wins. It's been kind of the feather in the cap of that coach. I know everybody in Pittsburgh is kind of gotten stale with Tomlin over time, but at this point you wonder if he keeps winning one-score games with all sorts of different quarterbacks and rosters and different talent levels, what does that mean? What does that mean about a head coach?
Oh, he went and got James back. James, is Zach Taylor under any pressure after this season?
For sure, no doubt. I talked about the offense, and I think if the Bengals offense struggles, even without Joe Burrow, well then yeah, it's on Zach Taylor to fix it, especially with all the coaching changes that they made earlier this year. So absolutely, there's pressure on Zach Taylor.
All right, James, if you were a sports talk show host in, say, Pittsburgh, what would you be saying right now about the start of the Pittsburgh Steelers as they are 2-1?
I hope he'd be ready to answer the phone, because at this point I'm ready to drive to Pittsburgh and go wring his neck myself.
And coming off a win over the Patriots, but now getting ready for the Vikings. What are your thoughts, James, as someone in Cincinnati who's being asked about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
2-1, defense hasn't played the way they should play, and yet the division's right there with Joe Burrow out and the Ravens struggling a little bit. So, yeah, he's feeling pretty good. That's not as takey as I think Pittsburgh would want me to be, but there you go.
James Rapine, Locked On Bengals in Cincinnati, as they get ready to head to the Mile High City to take on the Denver Broncos on Monday night. We now go to Pittsburgh in the fashionably late Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, as they're in they're in Ireland, I beg your pardon, to take on the Minnesota Vikings, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. Pony, is the Steelers defense back?
Well, it's back from being one of the worst in the NFL. I mean, it's regained form of not being the dregs of the NFL through 2 weeks.
Pony,
dynamite answer.
You have been commenting on Mike Tomlin. You've been one of the fiercest critics over time. But you've also noted that, he's been able to, at times, pull out some of these one-score games at 98, 61, and 2. The best winning percentage in the NFL. Are you starting to walk back those comments on a coach that you wanted out at least 20 different times over the last few years?
Well, I mean, he's not Rich Kotite, okay? He's not Bruce Coslett, okay? He's not Adam Gase, okay? He's not that bad. But he also has gone 8 years without a playoff win. So it's not all bad. He does have some positive attributes as coach, and this would be one of them, that for whatever reason, in nip-and-tuck games and close games, he wins at a higher clip than
for
anybody
whatever reason. That's coaching. That's the reason.
Pony, we know he's not Nathaniel Hackett. We know he's not Rod Marinelli. We know he's not Cam Cameron. We know he's not David Shula. We know he's not Marty Mornhinweg. We know he's not Josh McDaniels. We know he's not
Freddie Kitchens.
Lane Kiffin. We know he's not Marion Campbell. We know he's not Mike Riley.
Broda.
We know he's not Dennis Allen. We know he's not Hugh Jackson.
Dennis
we know
Erickson.
he's not Frank Cush.
Okay.
Jim Zorn.
Yeah.
He's not those guys.
You don't even think he's Kevin Stefanski.
What do you mean by that?
You think Kevin Stefanski's a better coach, and you've said that.
Have you said that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Why don't I put you on the spot now and flip it on you? Who's a better coach?
I'm just going to say Kevin Stefanski. Why not?
Okay, so he might be the worst coach in the AFC North.
There you go. No, Zach Taylor's the worst coach in the AFC North.
Come on, he's
Wait a minute. How is that? Why is that?
What, because he's been to a Super Bowl that makes him better than Mike Tomlin more recently?
He went to an AFC Championship game the next year. He also had a winning record with Jake Browning as his head coach.
How do you think Mike Tomlin would do if he had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase?
I don't know. How do you think he'd do with that defense? If he's giving up 30 points a game with T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, and Jalen Ramsey, he might give up 100.
Well, is T.J. Watt, is it fair to say that he's definitely taken a step back at this stage of his career, while Myles Garrett is ascending and becoming maybe the best defensive player in NFL history and maybe the best Cleveland Brown ever? Is it fair to say T.J. Watt is going backwards?
Well, I'm not ready to say that Myles Garrett's better than him.
Whoa.
T.J. Watt's coming off a game where he had 2 sacks, recovered a fumble.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Hold on a second.
Advanced metrics don't look
dumbest thing
good.
you've ever said.
Ken, what's the Steelers' record?
The Steelers' record is 2-1.
What's the Browns?
1-2.
Okay, so T.J. Watt's better.
T.J. Watt's better because of the record?
You told me that Myles Garrett was better because you won a playoff game and T.J. Watt didn't.
Well, yeah,
so
it's a playoff game.
Losses matter?
That's a playoff game. That's a playoff game. One's a playoff game.
So if you win a playoff game and the other guy doesn't, you're better. Okay.
Wait a minute. Do they get to the playoffs? Did they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers without Myles Garrett?
Did they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers without Myles Garrett?
I mean, whose team seems to need each other more right now? Because it seems that T.J. Watt's rather pedestrian.
Watt's coming off a game where he had 2 sacks.
Wow, I'm glad he was able to finally find the quarterback after all this time. I thought for a second he didn't know where he was anymore.
I'm sorry, I just didn't know that regular season wins didn't count, but playoff wins do.
Playoff wins count more than regular season wins when it comes to people. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason people want to put Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame. It isn't because of what he did in Week 6.
Wait a minute. Are we also you want to put Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame? I project it on other people.
I don't know. You're breaking up, so I don't know what you're doing.
It would appear that the mobile gods have stepped in on this conversation.
Rightfully so, because they're trying to save him from saying one of the dumbest things he's ever said on this air. And think about the territory that brings in.
Hey,
you guys still there?
Pony,
yes.
What do you think about the Browns' dominant defense through 3 weeks? Is it one of the best you've seen?
I just want to make sure, before we move on to that, I just want to make sure based on Ken's comments about playoff wins. So, Ken, you think C.J. Stroud's better than Justin Herbert?
I mean, Justin Herbert has not been able to show me a whole bunch, but I would say that Justin Herbert's better. I would say that Justin Herbert's better.
Well, how? Stroud beat him head-to-head. He's got 2 playoff wins, and Herbert's got 0.
Well, congratulations, but I got a guy who's got certainly more accolades than T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett.
No, he doesn't. They literally have the same number of accolades.
Oh, they do? I'm sorry. He didn't get multiple other AP and other votings? Myles Garrett didn't do that?
I'm sorry.
Myles Garrett, whoa. Yeah, answer that question. Because I would say that the hardware is more vast for Myles Garrett, and he has the playoff win.
Ken, pull up the stats. Who's got more All-Pros? Who's got more Defensive Player of the Years?
I can't help it that a lot of voters seem to like T.J. Watt for whatever reason back in the day. But if you think that T.J. Watt could play at the level that Myles Garrett is playing at right now, then I'm sorry, you've just embarrassed yourself on this radio station.
The only stat you've ever used to make your point is playoff wins.
No, I've made many stats to make my point. You're just focused on one because it bothers you so much.
No, because that's the one you used when I was on the phone.
Because I know it bothers you so much.
Well, give me another one you've used when I haven't been on the air with you.
What are you talking about? You won't even pick up the phone anymore when I call.
No, I'm here right now. The last argument you used was playoff wins. So what's the other argument that Garrett's better?
And look at the advanced metrics. Look at where PFF is. They had to make the
PFF. We're going to PFF.
You've never used PFF in an argument. You've never used PFF in an argument. They literally had to make the graph bigger to fit in what Myles Garrett's doing right now.
Oh, on that x-axis.
They didn't have enough room on the graph.
Way to the right.
Meanwhile, T.J. Watt fit in just fine.
I could see him. He was right there. They didn't have to do anything to the graph.
So after playoff wins, your second best argument is PFF?
No, that's like my third or fourth best argument.
Well, then we're second and third between PFF and playoff wins. I'm still waiting.
I don't know. I don't need to make it because I said playoff wins, and it seems it keeps you up. Playoff.
You just need to raise your voice.
I didn't raise my voice. In fact, I can't raise my voice right now. I lost my voice. I only need to bring up playoff wins because it makes you so upset and keeps you up at night.
Pony, you know another graph I really like? The old guy pointing to the board saying F-A-F-O.
Boom.
That's the graph I like. That's the graph I like, Pony.
I don't know what that means.
I'll tell you off the air.
Is Mason Rudolph going to host a podcast with Mike Gundy now?
And Bruce Pearl.
He's got time on his hands because Aaron Rodgers has played well through 3 games. So when you're saying I'm up at night, this team's in first place and they've got the quarterback with the most touchdown passes in the NFL. Why do I need to stay up at night?
Because you're so bothered by what I have to say about T.J. Watt. And you text me in the middle of the night.
Pony, it's gotten personal.
As it always does.
It's very sad. You guys used to be professional.
He's the one who stopped taking my phone calls.
Yeah, that's not right.
I tried to call him once in the last 2 weeks. Each of the last 2 weeks he didn't pick up. And then didn't call me back.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think Danny Parkins doesn't call him back, so he's just paying it backwards.
Yeah, what's going on there? Why doesn't the host of Mulligan Soup call you back?
He's actually on First and Pod now, boys.
Oh, beg your pardon.
Just kidding.
Okay, is that it?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, I think this will tell you enough.
Was it better late than never? I don't know.
I think it was. Coming up in 40 minutes, Dane Brugler. It will not get that contentious with Dane Brugler. I can promise you that. Coming up in 5 minutes, he's an icon here, but according to one major outlet, Jose is a, quote, no-name superstar. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on The Fan.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Back in early July, the Guardians 15.5 games behind the Tigers in the AL Central. Following last night's 5-2 win, the Clubs are now tied for first. Steven Quanah had 2 hits and scored twice, so that the Guardians really thought they could make it all the way.
today. Visit psecreditunion.org. That's psecreditunion.org.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Well, second and third, nobody out. Jose with the crowd on its feet. Slow chopper up the third baseline. McKinstry's only play is at first. He has no play. It's an infield RBI single, and it's a 2-1 game. Small ball thriving in Cleveland.
Audio courtesy of Guardians TV. Guardians won last night 5-2.
They said small ball, not guards ball. We were getting in a debate about that.
Guards ball is any ball that wins. It's not much of a debate.
Yeah, really the identity of the Guardians is right now just the pitching. And it's not just the starting pitching, too. I mean, they have, granted, it's never going to be, the Andrew Miller 2016, 2017 dominance in terms of the relief pitching, but they're starting to line it up here.
Well, it seems like it's more of a whatever it takes mentality. I mean, the way that Stephen Kwan's played left field the last month, too, last week in Detroit, he had a few off the wall that were held to singles.
Yeah.
That in that ballpark is huge. Those should definitely be extra base hits. He's gunning people down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are my definitions of guards ball, and it's the whatever it takes to win. This, last month it's been the pitching. You brought up 18 games that they've given up 2 or less runs.
I think he even had a relatively difficult catch in the 7th inning last night out there. There's something else here too, which I think a lot of people are going to get upset about. I'm not. This came to our attention from a listener named Josh. Twitter reactions brought to you by Scheibman Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. 8:29 and 15 seconds for those scoring at home. Josh says, cancel your subscriptions to the Wall Street Journal, fellers. So disrespectful. And it is from the Wall Street Journal. You looked this up to make sure this is real?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Says the no-name superstar behind the biggest comeback in baseball history. It's a picture of Jose Ramirez. No-name superstar.
Which, is that an oxymoron?
My first thought, it is, but, it's a headline.
How many superstars would you put in that class of no-name superstars in sports?
Technically, there's 0 no-name superstars.
I was going to say,
we have one, apparently.
Oh, I thought you meant in society, because I was going to say Banksy, but there's no face. If anything, you got a name.
Yeah.
He's, quote, a no-name superstar. I think some folks want to take that as a disrespect. And my first reaction was that it was a disrespect. Now, hear me out. Isn't this the exact way Jose Ramirez wants it? Isn't this the exact way he wants it? I mean, he gets to be a perennial all-star. He is, by and large, the people who play the game respect him at an obscene level. He's maybe he's easily one of the most respected players in Major League Baseball by his contemporaries. He makes gobs of money. Could have made more, but think about this.
Could have made so much more.
He doesn't have to do any of the media obligations that any of the guys making $100 million more in some of the other places have to do. He doesn't have to go and he does things he wants to do. He does his charities. He goes to the places he wants to go. He doesn't have to get on a plane at the end of the year and fly to the World. If they don't make the World Series, he doesn't have to fly to the World Series to present anything. He doesn't have to get on a desk and do things he doesn't want to do. He's beloved in the city he plays in. He makes life-changing money. He's taken care of for life. His family's taken care of for life. He doesn't have to do anything he don't want to do. I argue that this is how he likes it. It's maybe not how we like it because we've had generations of people ripping on Cleveland, so we're defensive towards this type of thing. No name. What do you mean by no name? Are you saying our city ain't good enough? What are you trying to say? But I think for a guy like him, I think he rather enjoys the anonymity.
And it's not just that he's in Cleveland, right? Because Francisco Lindor
was a major superstar in Cleveland.
And
yes.
Maybe you don't
they
think...
mic'd him up during the All-Star game.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I was going to say, am I overinflating him when he was here? But it felt like he was... If he hadn't been a superstar at that point, it was on a collision course. It was definitely going to happen.
He already had his own shoe, so...
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And the 90s Indians, I know baseball was in a different place at that time. The 90s Indians were big-time stars.
They were all superstars.
Yes, and all well-known, and all...
Future Hall of Famers.
Any city they went to, well, there's a few that should be future Hall of Famers.
The sport was also a much bigger sport.
It was a bigger thing. And you had one of the guys who was in the home run race every year. Well, arguably two, but one. The guys that was in the home run race every year. That it was a different time for baseball. But those guys were stars. I mean, you did have the Tommy Triple at McDonald's. I never got to have it. I don't like cheeseburgers, but I heard it was a very good sandwich. It was a big time, man. It was a big, big time. Which wasn't it like the MDP? Wasn't it just the MDP?
I think they did a bunch of regional, food items.
That was awesome. I think this is how he likes it. I don't take this as a disrespect. I know maybe I should. Do you think I should take it as a disrespect?
I think there are fans that will take this as a disrespect, especially for a guy that, I pulled it up. He was, third in the MVP voting 2017, third in MVP voting in 2018, second in 2020, sixth in 21. This is incredible. In 2022, he was fourth. And then last year, he was fifth. And this year, where's he going to be? He's climbing right back up.
Top three, at least.
Oh, my God. We are... those are starting to be real, not starting to be, those are Hall of Fame.
Hammy was on MLB Network the other night, talking about how he needs to get the MVP votes. And Tom Hamilton's great and he's loved here, but Tom Hamilton also got the recognition from the peers and everybody for the Ford C. Frick Award this year, right? And so when they bring that guy on and now he's talking it, every talking head on the baseball networks are now calling him future Hall of Famer. That's something they weren't doing 3 years ago even. These last two playoff runs are the things that really got him away from, it was him alongside of Francisco Lindor, in the mid-late 2010s, right? Yeah. Now it's clearly his team, and now he is clearly on a Hall of Fame track.
Like the guys who we see as future Hall of Famers, and I don't mean a disrespect towards them. Maybe I should to somebody. Like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is a big superstar. Shohei Ohtani, I think, is a tremendous card player, arguably. And I know that he's definitely a tremendous baseball player. Clayton Kershaw is a big star. Looks like a giant country music singing star. Definitely is well known for his time and as the top end pitcher in Major League Baseball. There's other guys there. I think Jose Ramirez is more of a ball player's ball player. Anytime you see the interviews with other players, who's the smartest guy in baseball, who's the most respected guy in baseball, Jose Ramirez gets brought up so many times. So I think that there is a world that he lives in that we are not a part of that's in baseball where it's kind of separated from anybody else. Well, if you don't make yourself really available to the common pop culture of America, the way that a New York Yankee would have to, or an LA Dodger would have to, arguably even a Chicago Cub would have to. I mean, David Ross, the whole thing. I think he has his life the way he wants it. I think he knows how much he's loved and respected here. I think that he wants to be this guy here, and that's it. And I can respect that from him. 216-474-0092. Mike at work. You're next up on the Fan.
Hey, what's up, boys?
Hi.
All right, so I'm waiting to see this Scooble kid, because we know that Boris is his agent. Guess where he's going to go? Dun, 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 or L.A., or one of those four places. I would love to see him stay in Detroit, and we can get a sort of rivalry back the way that it is.
What does Tarek Skubal have to do with any of this?
Huh?
What does Tarek Skubal have to do with any of this, Mike?
No, I'm saying his agent.
Yeah, but we were talking about
really
Jose
hoping
Ramirez.
on a day like today we get more calls about Tarek Skubal's agent.
What does Tarek Skubal have to do with anything?
It has to do with a lot with what they're going to do. Either they get rid of him or they don't do anything.
What are we doing?
I often say we need to talk more about the agents of players in other cities.
Dane Brugler going to join us at 9. Up at 8:45. Even the haters and losers have to love what's going on. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work. I don't know if I want you calling from work if that's the type of call we're going to get. But still, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima for Mentality. How about Mentality? If you are looking to get that spark back, this is the message to listen to. Low energy, lack of motivation, fatigue, setting you in, not enough hours in the day. Mentality is there to give you that boost. A jolt, if you will. Board-certified physicians providing a full physical, consultation, blood panel analysis, all during your first visit. And Mentality will get those
It's a song about the best mayo. It has a yellow lid, and its full name is Duke's Mayonnaise. Get Duke's Mayo in store. It's got twang.
92.3 The Fan has the most local sports talk in town, and you can be a part of it anytime you want. Weigh in on X at 92.3 The Fan and see if our hosts make your reaction a part of our shows. Powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Whenever you need to talk about the Browns, we got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
I mean, we're doing a lot of uncharacteristic things, and it's hurting us. So it's a tough game. You know, when we didn't capitalize early, you always look back and wonder if the game could have separated a little bit more. I thought we were in a good place when Riley hit the homer, but they showed that the team that made the most contact got rewarded for it, even if it wasn't great contact. They did a good job of battling.
I'm in a weird place because, like, I'm a very defensive person, emotional person. And I love to play. And nobody likes A.J. Hinch, who's not a Tigers fan or a Astros fan. Like, there's a lot to dislike about the guy because of the Astros thing. A lot of people just don't like. Like the Derry brothers can't stand him. Matt and Todd can't stand him. But I think this is exactly why he's been the way he's been, because we've played snippets of A.J. Hinch. We played some of that yesterday. This is Tigers manager A.J. Hinch. We've played snippets of him, and he's kind of sounded still a little, I would say, arrogant in some ways. And I think this is what he's battling, is that these are uncharacteristic things that he's doing. His team is not playing well. Like, this is a really, really, really bad stretch. Like, the Guardians have caught up. They've played very well, but if they just continue to play well, we'd still be 7 or 8 games back. It wouldn't matter. His team's playing terribly. And he says uncharacteristic, and I think it's like now it's the time where it's like, you know, they're tied now with us. And I think he's just thinking like, yeah, we're you know what, they're pressing, they're doing some silly things. Because up until now, it's been, we're going to wake up tomorrow, we're still in first place. We're going to wake up tomorrow, we're still 3 games up. Like after we swept them last week, it was, you know, we're still 3 games up. We're still in first place. There's no big deal. And I don't think it's this come to Jesus moment here last night where it's like, man, you guys over there are struggling. But I think it's the culmination of the last month and a half where, again, you were up 15 and a half games on July 8th. That's a long time ago, I know, compared to September 24th.
But it's 10 and a half.
15 games.
It was 10 and a half September 1st and 9 and a half on September 10th. So you don't even have to go all the way back to see that this was still a huge chasm between the two sides. And I do think, for a long time, I don't think the Guardians had anything to do with their meltdown until really the last few games. I mean, I think without a doubt, they are feeling the heat, the pressure. We are breathing down their necks. And then to have it culminate in not 1, but 2 Scooble losses to the Guardians straight up. I mean, that is a big deal. And there's no way anybody could watch that 6th inning yesterday and not think that he and that team completely rattled.
It's hard to be able to play the underdog and play it naturally. When you've won a division championship. I mean, the Guardians are the defending division champions, but the Guardians play the role of the underdog here. And when you come back from 15 game down, which they weren't even favored last night, right? Like, I don't pay attention to major league lines because gambling on regular season baseball
than football.
Yeah,
but they weren't favored. And so the 15 and a half, that was from the Guardians, right? It's not like they had that over the division. So I thought, maybe the Tigers had like an 8-game lead over the Royals or something at some point. No, they had a 14-game lead on July 8th. That was over the rest of the whole division. They had 14. They were 15 and a half up on the Guardians that day, but they were 14 games up. They have completely, this is on them.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the Guardians have held up their end. Yes. Obviously, they got back into it and then got the schedule to line up the way they needed it.
Yes.
But this is as much on the Tigers and just an awful, month and a half of baseball that they've played.
Like, I don't know exactly who else they've played other than us because, you only pay attention to the Guardians really when it comes to this. But probably play. Go ahead.
I tweeted out on July 23rd that I thought they were going to win the division then because the Tigers got swept by the Pirates. They played Schneemann on Friday. Or, I'm sorry, not Schneemann. They played Paul Skeens on Friday, right? And I'm like, all right, Paul Skeens, right? Great pitcher. Everybody loves him. But other than Paul Skeens, what had the Pirates done all year? and then they came in and swept the Tigers. And the Guardians were losing early to good teams. The Tigers lost consistently to teams that were inferior to them.
Miami.
And they have done that.
You're right.
And they did it last night. And they are not a team built for pressure. So, yes, they might end up in the playoffs, but especially if it's the first round, which team is built for pressure right now? The Guardians have proven how much pressure built they are.
I'm looking at this. I mean, you are 100% right about this. I mean, you look at where this is. We're going back to, I mean, they had a nice winning streak. They swept Houston. They took 2 or 3 from Kansas City to mid to late August. They got swept by the A's at their minor league ballpark in Sacramento. They split with They still took 2 or 3 from Kansas City. Chicago, they lost 2 or 3. The White Sox. Miami, they lost 2 or 3. At the time they played us last week, you're getting into September, swept by us, swept by Atlanta. Now, the A's have been better here over the last month. They've had a good month. Atlanta has had a good couple of weeks. I think they've won 8 or 9 in a row.
Well, the Atlanta came in and kicked our ass, too.
This is not good by them. So it's not just been the Guardians, and I do think that there is a bit of history there where, you're the team that put them out last year. They made an improbable run to just get to the wild card. They made an improbable run to do it. It was a great story, but now you're seeing what it is to play with pressure. And I think that what he's trying to do over there is to keep their heads on straight. But man, when you've lost now 7 in a row, have they lost in a row? If you've lost 7 in a row and you've been swept by the Guardians and then you just lost this one with Skubal on the mound, and him coming apart, somebody said to us, David Fry took one for the team. And you questioned that, and I thought, well, I think
he didn't have time to take one for the team. It was almost a 100-mile-an-hour ball that came right down in him.
You're right. It's sad, but in the spirit of the thing, when Skubal comes apart, you have to try to put 2 and 2 together. I mean, Tarek Skubal is basically the American League Cy Young winner this year. And you have the best pitcher in baseball going against you. It's a 2-0 game.
Back-to-back Cy Young winner.
Yes.
That's what he's going to be.
You have a 2-0 lead, and then it comes apart in the 6th, and it comes in after that. I'm glad the guy's human. It's nice that the man cares, and I feel a little bit of sympathy for Tarek Skubal, but at the same time, I got to go out there and I got to win. I'm glad that David Fry hopefully will be on the mend and be okay. I'm not sure how good off he is. We'll find out more later on today.
In a way, like him being showing some actual humanity. And it rattled him to such a point, like he almost needed to be a jerk. Like that was or they needed to replace him.
But I know you guys are talking about, that's not the point. He was breaking before that point. He broke at that point, right?
Oh,
mentally.
he was totally.
But he was unraveling then. When the guy squares around a bunt and they had been bunting, that's what they did. It was that small ball inning, right? And guys are squaring around. You might put one inside to try to brush him back, but you don't put it that far inside. And I'm not saying he did that on purpose at all. I'm saying
throwing the ball.
His mental state was not in the spot where you're the 2-time Cy Young winner.
Yeah, well then we had a balk too, and then how about what was the snap between the legs? That was insanity.
One of the most atrocious major league plays I've ever seen.
Another example, right? It was, and considering the timing, it was another example of the unraveling that we're talking about. And here is what's even better, and this has got to bring a smile right now to Guardians fans' faces. Not only were you last night going into it, you were in the wild card. Today, you are in it as the division winner, right? With 5 games left.
Correct.
Have you looked at what the matchups would be right now?
Yeah. No, I don't. I have no idea.
According to what I have at MLB.com, we'd be playing Detroit.
Judas Priest.
Who would you rather play right now?
Right.
And who would they rather not play at the most? That, to me, would be a dream come true matchup. Here, I want to preserve that no matter what. Because if we make the playoffs and we're riding this kind of high, we've won 17 of 20. Our pitching staff has been by far running laps around the rest of Major League Baseball, our starting rotation. Yeah. Now, if you think about the bullpen, you've got that 7, 8, 9 situation that we were clamoring for and we didn't think we would have at this point with Sobrowski, Gaddis, and Smith. Boom, boom, boom. Do you think anybody in Detroit is going to want to see the freaking Guardians in a postseason, in a wild card?
It's a tightrope they're going to have to walk because they end with Boston, and Boston's the 5th place team right now in the second wild card team.
This is an impossible thing to
They'll have to walk
ask.
that tightrope.
This is a possible thing to answer. we got to pay attention to another thing, too. The weather on Thursday is supposed to be really rough. Now, I think they can get in today, but the weather on Thursday is supposed to be really rough. Do they have – I imagine there's a grace period in there with Major League Baseball. What I'm saying is I imagine there's a grace period with Major League Baseball when you get to the end of Sunday and there's still something in doubt. Can they come back here and play on Monday?
They can, but I mean, I would imagine that. So Detroit has to go to Boston. I imagine they're going to figure out something on a start time to either move it. It's raining right now, right? I can't see outside, but that's supposed to clear up by 5:00 today. I don't know when the actual rain is hitting, but if you looked at the forecast, and something I didn't want to bring up and put the Iggy on earlier this week, but on Sunday, every day this week was supposed to rain.
It's okay. Andy Roth isn't the boss
and
anymore.
it's okay that, well, I've got other personal things going on this week. It's the same reason, like, I'm waiting on playing the Guardians are going to win the division audio, even though we've talked about it a bunch. I don't want to put it out there.
No, you don't.
It's time-stamped. I'm ready to do it, but I don't want to put any of that stuff out there.
I didn't vehemently disagree with you, did I? I was probably skeptical.
No.
But I think I probably would have said something. You know what, Owen? If you want to believe that, good for you.
No, I believe you did your not even recognizing that it was being mentioned. I don't think you wanted to participate in it. Anthony did.
I mean,
you won't be here to defend yourself next week.
If you said it, damn it, that's right. Don't tell people where I got to go.
Oh, we're going to.
Straight to hell. It's supposed to be the happiest place on earth. It's going to be straight to hell. Coming up next.
The happiest place on earth for me will be over in the left field section.
Beatboxing. Dane Brugler going to join us on the show. Is it too early to write off any of these guys? And just how well did Andrew Berry do in April? And could it actually save his job coming up in January? Or is it too little too late? We'll talk to Dane about that from The Athletic coming up in 5 on The Fan.
Well, when you
for observation. Browns back to practice today, getting ready for their game Sunday in Detroit against the Lions. Coming up later on this morning, going to hear from head coach Kevin Stefanski, 10:55 live right here on 92.3 The Fan. Don't miss the Browns preview show tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
You'll hear the latest from Browns practice as it happens. Basket and Phelps, weekdays at 10, 92.3 The Fan.
Even the haters and losers have to like what's going on with the Cleveland Guardians. That coming up at 9:22 this morning. Tone?
Looking for a winner. Code word food at 923thefan.com before 10 a.m. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to the All Cleveland Fest at Globe Iron on Saturday, October 4th, starting at 3 p.m. Huge event celebrating our local athletes, artists, and musicians, with all proceeds going to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. Get tickets and info, globeIronCLE.com. That's food at 923thefan.com.
That coming up at 9:20. Not that, but the 9:22. Gardos again. So I put out a list every single week of just, and it's not whole ass. I would say it's 3/4 assed about just real quick the quarterbacks I like. And boy, there is a lot. I tell you, everybody hates one name on that for one reason or another. And I thought, guys, I cannot right now. Like, there's no name you could say to me that I could probably say absolutely not to, because I think we're looking at QBs totally different than what we did 10 years ago. And I think there's a lot of guys who have a lot of different skill sets, and I think it'd be very short-sighted for me in September to say absolutely not to anybody. Also, do you think that this draft class can save Andrew Berry's job?
Potentially.
Well, let's talk to Dane Brugler about it. From The Athletic NFL, DP Brugler on Twitter. He's on the Fan Hotline. Hello, Dane.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing very well. The rookies have played very well for the Cleveland Browns so far. I don't know how good their season's going to be. Do you believe that would be enough to keep Andrew Berry employed past 2025?
As long as ownership is realistic about what this team is and, what the next 2-year, 3-year plan is. I mean, I was sitting at the 50-yard line watching that game on Sunday, and watching the impact that those rookies had was really fun. And, I mean, this team, I don't have to tell you guys this team has not had a single top 50 draft pick the last 3 years. And that just the decimation of that roster with young talent is evident, but it's so important for, especially, and let's just take the quarterbacks out of the equation at this point, Gabriel and Sanders, the 4 picks they had in the top 67. It's so critical for those guys, that core, to be productive this year, show promise, and we saw that on Sunday with, obviously your eye goes directly to Myles Garrett, but Mason Graham was awesome on the defensive line. Fannin, he's still breaking tackles out there. Judkins was running into a lot of brick walls, but finally in the fourth quarter, he was able to break through and pop a few. And Schwarzenegger is awesome. I mean, the closing speed, the instincts, he's going to be a really special linebacker. So I think that the promise of this rookie class and the reality check of where this team is right now, I would be pretty surprised if the head coach and general manager are not calling the shots this upcoming offseason.
Well, you use the term, Dane, special to talk about Schwarzenegger, and obviously there's been a lot to get excited about for all these guys, but I told Ken over the last few days, it's good to have, really good draft picks, but they are in such a hole because of the cap, because they still don't have a quarterback, obviously, for the future. Maybe Dylan Gabriel, maybe Shedeur Sanders, but we likely think they're going to be going back to the well in the first round next year, that they need special. Rookies just can't be good now. They need special because of how so many guys are aging out and the prior window is closing. So you said special. That one's going to resonate with me.
Well, and I think Schwarzenegger, there's so much to like about everything that he does, everything he's about. Former walk-on. I mean, you guys know his story. The way that he came out last year and just burst onto the scene, the way he played, the production, and the way that he's played so far as a rookie, he doesn't seem like a rookie. He plays like a guy that this is not too big for him. And this rookie group, they're all very, very young. I believe all four of those guys were underclassmen when they were drafted. So young guys with talent who they're giving these guys a chance. And so far, they're stepping up. And so, no, I would probably agree with you guys. I think the quarterback of the future is not on this roster. And so the big question becomes, is that quarterback going to be in this upcoming draft class? I mean, that's the whole reason they made that, traded away from Travis Hunter and got that extra first-round pick so they could be in a position to go get that quarterback next April. But the question will be, is that quarterback even going to be available for them?
Well, Dane, that was going to be kind of my next thing. Am I allowed to take a victory lap yet, or is it still way too soon of Mason Graham being the trade bait, or being taken with the trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars where they took Travis Hunter? Because I'm trying to pay attention to some things in Jacksonville, and I've read more articles than I've watched games, but there's a lot of arguments about maybe this two-way thing isn't working. And this is something Lyman and I foresaw back in the spring, where it's like, hey man, like, you got to get off the field. There's a lot of things that you just have to be smarter with the NFL and be ready for than you had to be in college football, where Mason Graham, boy, he's really kicking ass and taking names right now.
Well, and we've had, 3-game sample size. I don't think there's enough there to make any definitive statements. But I think this is predictable, right? I mean, the idea of knowing a full NFL playbook, offense and defense, and then going out there and playing like a Pro Bowl level player, like, that's just not realistic for a rookie. But by the end of the year, I do expect Travis Hunter to be a guy that we look at and say, okay, yeah, he was worth that top 3 pick, and he's making an impact on both sides of the ball. This is so rare what we're seeing with him, and so it's going to take a little bit of time, I'm sure. But I wouldn't be surprised either if at the end of the season, we look back and neither the Jaguars or the Browns regret making that trade.
All right, Dave. So that brings us to, what is a class that seems to be fluctuating depending on the week. And I do think people are getting a little crazy writing off guys because they watch one game in college football and say, well, that's it. That guy can't be the number 1 overall pick. And that can't be the quarterback of the future. I'm like, well, Patrick Mahomes had some bad college games too. So Josh Allen had pedestrian numbers. So when you look at this class right now, how evolving is it week to week for you?
Well, I love that you said that, because it's so true. A lot of people watched Drew Aller 2 years ago and made up their mind about who he is as a quarterback prospect. And that's just, it's not how this works. And it's kind of the difficult part of doing this in a week to week, where it's like one game is not going to make or break a prospect's draft projection, especially a quarterback. But with that said, I do think there's a little more emphasis on a weekend like this one coming up, where Drew Aller, Dante Moore, Oregon going to Penn State. Like, that's a tape that, there's going to be a lot of NFL personnel in the stadium watching that live, but every single team is going to be watching this tape. So this is one that matters in a big way. It's okay to put a little extra emphasis on it. But yet, as a whole, this quarterback class, here's the thing, and this is the asterisk I've kind of been mentioning with this quarterback class. The excitement is really based off of a lot of young players realizing their potential. And the early feedback is that young talent just isn't there yet. Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Aiden Childs, Sam Levitt, a lot of redshirt sophomores in there, younger guys. If the draft were held tomorrow, I still think Lenora Sellers would be that first quarterback drafted. But he just turned 20 years old. He's still very much a work in progress as a passer, and there's no guarantee he'd even be in this draft class, because with NIL, that's really changed the game for quarterbacks, especially. Lenore Sellers could come out, and I think he'd be right there in the mix to be the first quarterback drafted, or he could go back to South Carolina, get better, and earn $3 million, and still be in a position in the 27 draft to be one of the first quarterbacks. So this is a quarterback class, like you said, very much in flux. I think that with Garrett Nussmeier is from LSU. He's the top senior this year, pretty clearly, and I think it's up to Drew Aller to see if he can kind of change the narrative on that one. And that's going to start Saturday. It hasn't been a great first 3 games for Penn State in terms of that offense, and Aller in terms of just really maximizing, beating up on some lesser competition. So now at home in the whiteout against a pretty good Oregon defense, let's see what you got, Drew Aller.
Dane Brugler joining us here on the show. I want to get back to our quarterbacks that we have on this roster here in just a moment. But, I mean, you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier. And I put out a list every single week, and I put Garrett Nussmeier at the top. My timeline hates Garrett Nussmeier. Why are my listeners wrong? Why does the NFL have him so high?
Well, I think that we have to look at these quarterbacks and kind of like, what's the projection with each one of these guys? It's not enough to say like, oh, he's a top 3 pick, top 5. That's not how we should be looking at quarterbacks. We should be projecting them in terms of role. So, is Garrett Nussmeier, is he a high-end starter? Is he a mid-level starter, low-end starter? And in my opinion, he projects as a mid-level starter. And so if you're looking for that high-end starter, no doubt about it, top 3 pick, I do not think that's Garrett Nussmeier. Now, if you're looking for someone who I think is a mid-level NFL starter projection, then I think Nussmeier is certainly in that conversation and somebody that you need to be considering. But, if you're drafting top 5, that projection might not be good enough for what you want. Maybe you want to try and thread the needle and pass on a quarterback and try again the following year. But, it's tough. It's the Browns, obviously they've not been very lucky in terms of having the top pick when the obvious quarterback was there. They came back in 99, 1 year after Peyton Manning went number 1 overall in 98, and we could go year by year, and they've kind of just missed. Now, you could argue that they should have taken maybe Josh Allen number 1 overall instead of Baker, and a lot of hindsight involved there. But with a guy like Garrett Nussmeier, who he's not very big. There is some Baker Mayfield to him because the size doesn't blow you away. The arm is good, not great, but he just has full command of the offense. If you want a guy that does actual quarterback things in terms of setting protections, understanding pre-snap what's going on, and then is able to go through his reads and work the pocket and again, do all those quarterback-centric things, he does that at a high level. And it's not really a surprise considering his dad's a longtime quarterback coach, offensive coordinator in the NFL. But I do understand those that are not huge fans of Garrett Nussmeier, if they're looking for that high upside, the guy that you would take top 3, no doubt, because I don't think Nussmeier is necessarily that guy.
Is there that guy in this coming draft?
It's hard to see it right now. Like I said, I think Lenora Sellers is probably the number 1 quarterback if the draft were held tomorrow. But he's still very much developing. You watched the game over the weekend against Missouri. He will make. There's a handful of throws on that tape that make you sit up and say, "Yeah, that's a guy right there who is got elite potential." But then you watch the lowlights and where the inconsistencies pop up, and again, you see how young he is. Just turned 20 years old. The dual threat ability is a big part of why you love Lenora Sellers. This sounds hyperbolic, but he is the strongest quarterback I've ever evaluated. And that's no disrespect to Jalen Hurts or Cam Newton, it's just different with Lenora Sellers. And so that dual threat ability is a big part of why you are excited about what he's going to be at the next level. But again, the development as a passer, that's where it's just going to take some time with him, and it's going to take a little bit of patience.
All right, maybe... Dane, this is more of a Sports Talk Radio question than a draft analyst, so you can laugh me out of the room on something like this. But Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, if they were in this year's draft, are they getting drafted earlier? Because a year ago, people made it seem like last year's quarterback draft was abysmal, and that, if they were in the next one, they'd be pushed back even further.
Yeah, and obviously the Shedeur conversation's tough. No one saw him going in the 5th round, and I think that had more to do than just what was on the field. And Gabriel went higher than I think a lot of people thought. So I mean, I don't think necessarily that either one would go significantly higher or lower in this class. We're not sure what this class is going to look like yet, because so many of these guys that we're maybe possibly excited about, they're underclassmen. We just don't know if they're going to come out or if they're going to go back to school. Fernando Mendoza, What he's doing in Indiana is kind of exciting. But they've got a big game coming up at Oregon. Then they're at Penn State later. Those will be two big tests that'll tell us more about Mendoza. I would say this about these quarterbacks: keep an open mind to everybody. Just because if Joe Burrow after his junior year at LSU would have been a 3rd-round pick. Jaden Daniels after his 3rd year at Arizona State would have been a 5th-round pick. Like, some guys, it takes time. And, Drew Aller took a big step between his sophomore and junior years. If he takes another step now as a senior, all of a sudden, he's going to look a lot more appealing as a prospect. And so I would just say to everybody, keep an open mind on these quarterbacks in college. Guys get better, they grow, they develop, and the body of work is ultimately what's going to be what matters and whether or not this team drafts a quarterback.
Wild, unfair question. Here we go. If Dylan Gabriel had to start Sunday against the Lions, do you think he'd be ready?
I do, because that's why you drafted him in the top 100 picks, is because he's smart. He understands the offense. He doesn't wow you physically, but what wins with him is what's between the ears. And so I have no doubt. I think he'd be just fine to operate the offense. Not saying it would look amazing, not saying they would win the game, but I think he'd be fine to run the offense. Yeah.
That's a hell of a comment. Dane Brugler, follow him on Twitter at DP Brugler on social media. Dane, thank you very much for the time.
All right, anytime. Go Tribe.
Dane, what? Yeah, that's right. He's from here.
Threw it in there.
That's right. He's from here. Dane, thank you again, my friend, the great Dane Brugler from The Athletic. He's a Cleveland fan. He's from the area. Good man and thorough. 216-474-0092. Give me one split second to give a thought on that, okay? Coming up next as well, even the haters, even the losers have to love what's going on. Or maybe you'll change your mind once we play this clip for you. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work in the free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima for
Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
Headline sports news every 20 minutes from the University Hospital's sports desk. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Dane Brugler joining us. Wild, unfair question. Here we go. If Dylan Gabriel had to start Sunday against the Lions, do you think he'd be ready?
I do, because that's why you drafted him in the top 100 picks, is because he's smart. He understands the offense. He doesn't wow you physically, but what wins with him is what's between the ears. And so I have no doubt. I think he'd be just fine to operate the offense. Not saying it would look amazing, not saying they would win the game, but I think he'd be fine to run the offense, yeah.
Dane Brugler.
Yeah, I think
sensual commentary right there. I'll get back to the Guardians here in a second, but go ahead.
I think we get carried away with, is a guy ready or not? You know, even
I absolutely get carried away with it.
Well, even Deion Sanders, when we played the clip from the Kelsey brothers, like, the NFL is not where you develop guys. Just isn't. Like, I've said this before, how in the NBA, when you are either a two-way player or you're a young guy on a really good team, that what's really going on is you're getting to the arena 4 hours early and you're working on footwork. And so, the NFL, there's no time for that. There just isn't. Like, you could say that, hey, Shador's getting 10 plays at the end of practice.
Okay, but that's
how much is he really developing?
That's where I get so sensitive and defensive when at the end of the last 2 weeks, it's gotten kind of comical with you where, well, Shador's working on stuff after practice, but he can't work on stuff in practice. Well, he's got to do something at some point to try to develop himself and to get ready for it. I know that he and his father didn't think that he was ready for development, but you have to be ready to play because eventually I would imagine he's going to play at some point this year. And Dylan Gabriel, he's got the benefit of practice reps in some fashion, whether it be scout team or whether it be, you know, with the second team or whatever. Like, he has that value where you don't get that if you're Shador. So there's going to be that extra work in there. So I'm not going to make fun of Shador for getting the extra work. And that's what it sounds like to me. Maybe you're not trying to, but that's what it sounds like.
Even though I still think not enough has been made about the fact that Dylan Gabriel isn't getting that extra work, which also should tell you how far they believe Dylan Gabriel is ahead of Shador in being, quote, ready. The other question is Dylan Gabriel good? And there's only one way to find that out, is he's going to play. But that's way more important than is he ready. The is he ready stuff, like, how many times have we seen quarterbacks actually play well their rookie year and then come back to the pack a little bit?
Well, there's tape. There's things that they can do to exploit you, yes.
Yes, I think sometimes we're having the wrong question
I disagree, though, because we've had a lot of discussions where guys just weren't flat out ready to play. And they've usually been mid to late round picks being thrust in there. Now, what you do to prepare yourself to get ready to play, I think that's a conversation, but these are things that we don't know.
But doesn't it seem like the mid to late round picks have more starts than the guys taken in the first and second round nowadays? Because they don't have the ceiling. They don't have the ceiling, but they will have played for 2 to 3, sometimes 4 college football teams, and they haven't gone to the NFL because they're not considered as great a profile, right? As great a talent.
This is why. And you notice what Dane said at the beginning of that interview. He doesn't anticipate those guys going anywhere. So I think Browns fans are going to bash their heads against the wall because the scoreboard's got to count for something, and it sounds like the scoreboard's not going to count for anything. Now, we're just coming off a win, so maybe they'll go out and get another win on Sunday, and we'll be 2-2, and maybe we're off to the races.
Different
We'll
conversation.
see where it goes. It's a different conversation. But think about it in this case. If you were to keep them around, this is why I said yesterday, and I'm sure I got beat up on it on social media because people don't like to watch the video and listen to the content. I'm not sure if I did or not. I muted it because I was like, I can't have that happen during the show. You got to root for Drew Aller on Saturday. It just makes things simpler. He's played a lot of football. He's an easier quarterback to get behind if you're a classic NFL scout. It's more drop back, bigger body, let her rip. Now, I've been very critical of Andy Kotelnicki, who is their offensive coordinator. I think the guys got caught.
Not a day goes by Kenny doesn't mention Andy Kotelnicki.
Well, we are always talking Kotelnicki.
Well, because
too much Kotelnicki, not enough Kotelnicki.
Are you done?
Some have wondered if Kotelnicki is coddling too much.
He looks like he wants to wring your Kotelnicki right now.
Mm-hmm. I think he calls plays for TikTok. And I think that they can't open up that offense. And he's not had great wide receivers in the past. They went out and they got those guys. Maybe just Drew Aller is not that great. We'll find out more coming up on Saturday. This is the first of 2 big tests. Because you have Dante Moore on the other side, who is also, by the way, 6'3", big enough, played a lot of football, played on a terrible UCLA team that did not have a lot of help. He's got better weapons now, playing better. Didn't fare so well at Northwestern, but you know what? I kind of give it a pass because it's Northwestern, and it's right there on the lake. Well, where's he going to have to play next year? I kind of want to give it a pass, but it's right there on the lake. Hey, we ain't moving indoors right now. And Northwestern has always been a place, even at Ryan Field, it's just a weird place to play. So I don't go crazy about that. But this is going to be a big moment for both of these guys coming up on Saturday. And I think that they can be both more classic. You could look classic towards Drew Aller, and it's just more convenient for you. The Dylan Gabriel conversation, that's a spicy nugget that he gives us about Dylan Gabriel being ready to go if he had to play on Sunday. Albert Breer was asked about it yesterday. Could they bench Joe Flacco sooner than later?
I don't think it's gotten that close. The sense I got through camp and into the beginning of the season was that Joe is light years ahead of the other two, and Dylan was significantly ahead of Shador. As Dylan closed that gap, I certainly think it's possible. I think as long as they're in the hunt, and at 1 and 2 they're still in the hunt. I think you go with what you know. You go with Joe Flacco. But I think a lot of people look at this the wrong way. It's not the quarterback in a vacuum. It's how much of the offense is the quarterback going to be able to run, and how does that open up things for the other 10 guys in the huddle? Joe, I think, is still at the highest level when it comes to that, as far as how much of the offense they're able to run, how open the playbook is when he's in there.
See, Albert says that he's light years ahead of Shador, which I think is a key thing to when I said, hey, if Dylan were to go out there and play and then Dylan were to get hurt, I think that Joe Flacco's back in the cards to take back over the offense.
Oh, man, people will be incensed.
That's fine. I understand they're mad, and I would understand because you want to see the guy, and I got a lot of people who are going to be disagreeing with me, but that's the way it's going to go. And plus, I have a bunch of people saying Watson in the mentions. I think they'd try to go to Brian's site before they went to Deshaun Watson, but that's just my thought. 216-474-0092. All right, you want to talk about something positive? Which, by the way, I found it to be a little bit funny that somebody had said, hey, I didn't listen to Ken today. I decided to tune into 97.1 to go hear them be miserable up there. And I go, well, you're kind of going against the whole theory of you guys want to listen to stuff that people are celebrating. You just want to wallow in somebody else's misery. Misery, some way, somehow, is going to draw it, even though I tell you when the Browns are that bad, you guys say we all root for them to lose because it means higher ratings. And when I've told you before, in 16 and 17, it was in the basement, friends. But either way.
I've done that before, though.
Either way.
I did. I went to Pod Save America after the Dems lost the election. Sometimes it's fun.
You found that fun?
Yeah, sometimes it's fun.
You found that fun?
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think they know us. 216-474-0092.
Just living life like the other side.
You want to play that audio of the hater, of the Cleveland Guardians hater? We had Mike in Akron earlier today on the show.
Well, it just seemed like Mike was...
Lima was despondent.
It just seemed like Mike was going to shoehorn his overarching view of the Dolans in on a day like today, where I'm like, we've done that so many times, and there will be more opportunities. I feel like today's not the day to do that after beating Scooble again.
I'm letting you know it's going to happen, and it's going to happen in waves like this. Mike in Akron, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Mike.
I would say that last year we're in ALCS. So anything below that, I think, would not be a successful season. I understand the 15 and a half games behind. I think it's an awesome run. But once again, we're giving credence to a low-budget, fiscal responsibility team that keeps sucking us in every year. This team is not set up to win a championship ever.
The people, the almost 30,000 that were there last night, who treated it like a playoff game. Imagine if they watched it like him, the place would have sucked.
So
they probably wouldn't have have won the game. Thank God they don't have to listen to guys like that every day. Thank God they have real fans who aren't going World Series or bust every year.
It'd be nice to go World Series or bust every year, but it's a different, it's a different sport. I hope you're ready to take those calls. I'm pointing it out. I cannot say don't call in, don't do it. It's been an all-time bad week for calls, frankly, but you can't say you're not going to listen to those people, because I think there's a lot more guys than we think.
Here's the thing.
Much to my chagrin, there's a lot more guys
Kenny,
like that than I think.
There is no doubt there will be time to talk about payroll again, because I got news flash for what they're going to do in the next offseason. I'm just saying today,
how
of
much
all the
more
days,
can they cut?
Of all you watch them, is that a threat?
God,
is that a challenge?
It's a challenge. The reverse supermarket sweep. Go.
People were just so people coming out of the woodwork yesterday on my Instagram. It was great to see. It felt like, honestly, a playoff game just to see who was jumping back on the bandwagon, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with getting involved. I know someone like Owen's not going to be thrilled because he's been to like 40 games this year, and last night he couldn't go. So he had some major beatbox FOMO happening last night.
I had to beatbox on my own. It was weird, man.
At home.
Did not enjoy it at home as much.
But
it's a little different on your couch.
But last night you saw, believe me, we had former hosts here at the radio station who you sometimes hear their voices. They all of a sudden were shown. Zach Jackson was going to the game all of a sudden.
Zach hasn't cared about baseball since 1993.
But that's what I mean. The bandwagon is open. When does that normally happen? It happens in the playoffs. Last night, you were going up against a Cy Young guy, a two-time Cy Young Award winner.
It was a playoff game. It by and large, it was a playoff game. 216-474-0092. Speaking of that, must win to should win. You want to give Mitch hell when we come back? Mm-hmm. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan.
XTENDAV.com. Kenny, I looked up the schedule. If weather does not intervene, when the wild card would start. And then I thought to myself, well, where will I be watching a potential wild card? Or what if we win the division? Where would I watch that game next week?
Where would you watch it?
God, I'd love to be at the game, but if I'm not, I've got 85-inch Sony Bravia TV at home.
It's going to feel like you're at the game.
Why would I not just watch it there with the sound bar and all of that, all set up, all installed by the best of the best at Extend Technologies?
Well, you could have 30,000 people around you if you wanted to. That might be a lot of fun.
Too.
Or you can invite 30,000 people over to your home, your palatial estate in Bay Village, where you have a higher tax bracket than most. Ooh. Congratulations on all your success. Ooh. That's the way that the Limas live. And they live large anyway, and you can do the same thing no matter where you live, because they can get into any of the local state area, folks. I got folks who were listening in Western PA who have had Extend come and take care of their home. Yeah, real Cleveland sports fans having to live in Western PA, and they go, you know what, I ain't going to go with any of these local people. They can't do it as well as anybody in Northeast Ohio. That's what Extend Technologies does. It's just better.
95% less than brand names at hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Tulsa is my home now. Academy Award nominee Sylvester Stallone stars in the Paramount Plus original series, Tulsa King. This distillery is a very interesting business, and we gotta know the enemy. From Taylor Sheridan, co-creator of Landman. What are you saying? I'm a rat! If you think you're gonna take me on, it's gonna be really difficult. Tulsa King, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things. Like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
O'Reilly. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the products for your next oil change. Right now, get 5 quarts of Valvoline Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a Wix filter for $35.99. Plus, get a $15 gift card after rebate. Limits apply. See your O'Reilly Auto Parts store for details or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
We go from a must-win to a should-win. Jack Flaherty on the mound today. He's been pooped this year.
Yeah, he is. He's had success against us, though, in the past, but you're right. It feels like we can get to him.
Yeah.
And I think they're shaking a little bit, right? They have to be. If you were to ask the average Tigers fan, do they think they're gonna make the postseason?
Oh, I think they're probably at an all-time low right now over there on the other side of the lake. There's a weird week between Cleveland and Detroit. This reminds me of the time, the stakes are much lower. This reminds me of the time they played the Tigers, and then we went over outside. There was the Eastern Conference Finals, and we went over outside to watch on the big screen next to when Rocket Arena was the Q. Might still even been gunned at that time. Probably was the Q. And they used to have, you could watch the game on their big screen out there. They let you do it. And so to see that going on was pretty amazing. It reminds me almost of that. Now, it's not the same stakes, obviously. Yeah. This is a Week 4 football game we're getting ready for. But this is to go to the postseason with the Cleveland Guardians. So.
Is this how we were all here for this? Mitch, you were much younger. 2013, the win streak, the Giambi walk-offs.
It was a great night, yeah.
How does that... this is why you still got to get in.
I think they won the last 12 to get in, or last 13, something like that, to get in.
Oof.
To get the one-game wild card.
I know.
I want to know something, Mitch.
Sure.
Why didn't you insist on doubling? Lima let the challenge lay. You could have said must win, guarantee. You backed away from it, and you still put on a hat.
I never guarantee a victory.
Oh, why? It's just your thing. You won't guarantee victories?
Sure. There's no guarantees in sports.
Why not?
I don't like to get ahead of myself, and if they lose, then I get my hopes let down. So this way, I'm able to be what's called an optimistic realist, where if they win, it's good.
I think you're just giving yourself cheap outs, and you're not willing to take a stand.
You call it a cheap out. I call it regulating my emotions to make sure that I'm facing reality.
There's a lot of different long syllable things you can bring up to try to talk yourself out of it.
I call it a BS artist.
But I need damning opinion here. Now, I'm a person who has put guarantees out there before, and I've guaranteed and actually won.
Okay.
But people definitely remember the guarantees that we actually lost, that I've actually lost. The one being Baker Mayfield shaving his face out in Denver, and the other one being letting down a room full of school children. Now, I have to live with that as a cloak of failure, but at least I got the sack to go ahead and do it. You, son, need to sack up and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I might have been wrong on that Deshaun Watson thing. It's not looking good.
What do you want me to guarantee right now?
Actually, that one I was right on. Champions Post.
What do you want me to guarantee right now with the series?
I just want you to be What do I want him to be, Owen?
Well, if they would have lost last night,
you can't even decide what you want me to be.
We don't have enough time for that.
What would you have said today had they have lost yesterday?
Yeah, what would you have said?
Oh, I definitely would have thought the momentum's back on Detroit's side.
No. Would you have said that the season is over?
Stop pussyfooting around.
No, I couldn't have said it was over.
Lima was going to say the season was over.
We talked about this yesterday. You said it was a must-win last night.
It was a must-win against a pitcher like that, and they got
stopped talking, and Anthony said, then you have to say that the season is over. I'm talking. You let two people talk. I'll teach you how to do radio on air if you'd like. But instead, sit there and listen. Anthony asked you if it was a must-win. You said yes. And then Anthony said, well, then you have to say the season is over afterwards. And you wouldn't do that. So now we're doing it again today, Mitch.
And I'm still not doing it. The season would not have been over if we'd have lost.
Is it a must-win today then?
No, I think you're going to win. I think you want me to make a guarantee right now? I think we're going to take one of the next two. At least. Got his head on the table here.
You reminded me of that guy in New York. He was like, I used to be your boss. And yeah, what happened there? I'll come and show you how to do it live. All right.
I think we're going to take one of the next two after a win like that.
Well, who do the Tigers even have to pitch tomorrow? And again,
I don't know that they've said yet still.
Right, we're doing this based on if they get the games in, and it looks like we should be okay tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking tomorrow. I think they'll be okay tomorrow as well. It's going to rain for around 2 hours tomorrow. So even if that does delay the game, I think they're still going to play it tomorrow night. The Guardians don't have to travel. The Tigers do have to go to Boston. Mm-hmm. Not a horrible plane trip, right? If you're going at 1 a.m, that sucks. But guess who decides if you play the game or not? It's the home team. It's not the road team.
You don't think MLB would intervene here?
No,
given
I don't think. No, it is all on the home team to decide when and if that game gets played.
A rain delay can go our way for once?
Yes.
That would be nice. I feel like the baseball gods owe us one on this one.
We're putting ourselves against the wall, too, if we don't throw a first pitch until 10 o'clock on Thursday night. But it's also a game where you feel like if you go out and win that, who really cares about the last three? If you end up taking tonight and tomorrow, you feel like driver's seat, who cares, damn the torpedoes, and get one against the Rangers, and you've probably done enough.
Man makes a strong case. Now, Lima, you were prepared to come in here if they lost last night and say the season was over?
I was pretty close to going, man, that's because you lose all the momentum, and it's like, man, we had won before that, 17 of 19, was it, or 16 of 19? Oh. And now we're worried about the tiebreaker.
I have to be realistic about this to some degree. Like, I can't expect them to just win the next 5 games of professional baseball. They've won how many in a row right now?
And what are the Rangers going to do in those final 3?
The Guardians have won.
Rangers are atrocious on the road.
And they're eliminated from the postseason, so they have nothing to play for.
So do any of those guys have incentives to hit? You imagine that the sweeping them should be a lot easier than it would have been, a month ago.
The Guardians have won 9 of 10. At one point, they won 8 in a row.
And it's 17 of 20 now.
That's a lot to ask. Like, there's probably one more in there.
Yeah, but you've afforded yourself the right spots too.
Okay.
Because it would have been a lot different had it been one against the Tigers last week. That would have changed the whole way this went down. But they did what they were supposed to on the road.
They beat Scoble twice.
They have given themselves such a buffer zone for a small misstep. They can't have a large one or a sustained one, but they can have a small misstep right now and be okay.
How have you worn 2 different hats in here in this studio on this show?
When I went to go get the parking meter, I went and switched hats to my regular one, yeah.
And it's not backwards this time.
It's not.
You are an insane individual.
You're just staring at me like I'm a psychopath.
Yeah.
Wearing 2 different hats in one day. Get this guy into an asylum.
Well, it's just weird you insist on wearing a hat on YouTube Live, but you won't guarantee a victory.
I wear hats 50% of the time that I'm here.
The closest thing you'll guarantee to a victory is, they'll win one of the next 2.
Yes.
Well, you really hung them over the fence.
It doesn't matter what they do unless they lose the next 2 games. It doesn't matter what they do against Texas.
Was it in the 90s that the Guardians, the then Indians, had a fan behind home plate that would wear a different hat every inning? What happened to that person?
There was a guy who did that?
Then I was told somebody last night, because Donovan Mitchell was in attendance, a woman last night had attended her 400th consecutive game
That's nice.
Why is that not a
55
bigger
to
deal?
go.
Why is that not a bigger
Put her
deal?
name up there next to 455.
Should that not be a bigger deal?
It probably should be.
Should you get something?
Is there anybody in the stadium that's attended more consecutively, though?
Can you give her a drum and have her start using the drum again?
No. There's only one drummer.
Booing, but you clap.
Have a wonderful day, my friends. We're back tomorrow morning, 6 to 10. Hopefully after a big Guardians win. Bye-bye. Hey.
Sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Loser town, loser fans, and you guys are a loser show.
This Boomer Esiason with an Odyssey Sportsman Edge. Chicago's Caleb Williams earns my first offensive game ball. Welcome to the NFL, kid. Finally. Other standouts, Indy's Jonathan 3 TDs Taylor and San Fran's Ricky 117 receiving yards Pearsall. Bears linebacker Tremaine Edwards